Chapter 897. Good heavens, this was getting interesting. The Ice Phoenix clan's ambition was being exposed step by step. Relying on the special power of the Emperor, not only did they control the government, they even completely took control of the Phoenix Academy. Did the Fire Phoenix clan still have hope? What would become of the Divine Phoenix Empire in the future? All of this caused the martial artists present to have endless fanciful thoughts. Looking at the confused expressions of the people below the stage, Sikong Zun's lips curled into a smug sneer. Alliance? Would the true Devil Empire ally with a mere Divine Phoenix Empire? This was just a stalling tactic. Using the internal strife of the Divine Phoenix Empire to destroy this country might be easier than directly invading. Thinking of this, Sikong Zun's injuries seemed to have healed a lot, and he didn't feel as painful as before. Impudent! Suddenly a loud roar was heard. Suddenly, dust flew in the distance. A group of cultivators wearing armor and riding on winged, heavenly wolves galloped over in a grandiose manner. The one who spoke was the valiant general leading the group. Even though it was just a roar, it made people feel as if they were on a bloody battlefield in an instant, as if they had entered a battlefield full of blades and swords. Everyone looked at this pair of people. The leader's voice was heard again. A mere Phoenix Academy dares to make decisions for the Empire? Are you trying to rebel? After speaking, the leader jumped up from his winged, heavenly wolf and swept the halberd in his hand through the air. A ferocious aura enveloped Sikong Zun. The crowd sucked in a breath of cold air. Someone actually dared to provoke the Phoenix Academy and directly chose to attack the newly appointed vice president, Sikong Zun. What were they trying to do? The smile on Sikong Zun's face disappeared. Lightning flashed in his hands, and a long sword completely condensed from lightning appeared in his hands. His eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. The Phoenix Academy represents the will of the Divine Phoenix Empire. How can you rebel? Your Excellency, please speak. With a thrust of the sword, a terrifying sword aura broke through the air. Boom! The two forces collided in the air and then shattered. The man who had flown up landed back on the winged wolf. He looked at the Sikong Zun in surprise and said, "Good heavens, I should have killed you back then. Otherwise, today's incident would not have happened." Ji Ning. That's the National Protector, General Ji Ning. Ji Ning. It was because of your pursuit that I had no choice but to hide in the Heavenly Dragon Continent. Are you going to make the same mistake again? I'm now the Vice President of Phoenix Academy. Dealing with me is the same as making an enemy of the Empire. Sikong Zun snorted coldly. When he saw Ji Ning, it was as if he had seen the greatest enemy of his life. Back then, he had awakened his powers in the Phoenix Academy and recovered quickly. No one had noticed what was wrong with him. However, there was one person who saw through his identity as the Lightning Demon King and wanted to kill him to prevent future troubles. That person was none other than Ji Ning. At that time, he had been severely injured. In the end, he had escaped to the Heavenly Dragon Continent with the help of the president of the Phoenix Academy, who is also the current state preceptor. He did not expect that Ji Ning would still pursue him now that he was back. He took a deep breath and gradually calmed himself down. Things were different now. Not only was his cultivation level not inferior to Ji Ning's, but his status was also not inferior. If Ji Ning wanted to kill him, he would have to see if he had the ability and courage to do so. The crowd in the square was also confused by this sudden change. Ji Ning's title as the National Protector General was conferred by the previous emperor. The previous emperor was from the Phoenix tribe. After abdicating, he mysteriously disappeared and his whereabouts were still unknown. However, the current emperor did not revoke his title as the National Protector General. He only demoted Ji Ning to the empire's borders. Logically speaking, without the emperor's permission, Ji Ning could not enter the imperial city. However, not only did Ji Ning come, he even attacked the vice president of the Phoenix Academy. What was his intention? The Phoenix Academy represents the Empire's will. Ha 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 ha. Your ambition to rebel has been completely exposed. Ji Ning sneered. Did you really think that I didn't do anything all these years? Your state preceptor, the president of the Phoenix Academy, is not from the divine Phoenix Empire. His real identity is the same as yours, one of the 9 great demon kings of the true demon empire. You are the lightning demon king, and he is the yin-yang demon king. What a joke! How can I be the lightning demon king? What evidence do you have? Sikong Zun sneered. Moreover, it's fine if you insult me, but you actually insulted the current state preceptor. Do you really think that the empire won't dare to punish you? Punish? That's right. Your true devil empire has already destroyed the sacred dynasty, and the divine Phoenix Empire is next. In this place, very few people know of your secret, and these people either wallow in the mire with you, or collude with you like them. Ji Ning sneered and pointed at Mo Wushang and the others on the stage, then continued, There are also some others who are afraid of death, so they don't dare to identify you. Do you think that if you punish me, this secret will be kept forever? His eyes were still fixed on the Sikong Zun, cold and sharp. Back then, when the divine Phoenix continent was in chaos, it was my master, Ji Fuling, who worked together with Mistress Yu, Xian Yue, to quell the chaos and gave the divine Phoenix continent more than 10 years of peace. When my master left, he asked me to stay and help the emperor protect this empire. If it wasn't for this agreement, I really wouldn't care about this matter. However, today I can't just stand by and watch you bastards from the true demon empire destroy my master and mistress's hard work. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but sigh. Ji Fuling and Yu Xuanyue's matter was known by almost everyone in the divine Phoenix continent. To the people here, these two were like saviors. Without them, the chaos of the war would have caused the divine Phoenix continent to suffer, and countless people would have died. It's true that you have meritorious service, but if you think that because of it you can frame the important officials of the imperial court, then you are gravely mistaken. The Sikong Zun coldly said, disobeying orders and entering the imperial city without permission. This is already a capital offense. Your master and mistress should have set a rule that you people are not allowed to participate in the election of the Ice Phoenix clan and the Fire Phoenix clan. However, you have frequent contact with the Fire Phoenix clan. This is the second capital offense. The emperor didn't kill you because of old friendship. So don't stand on the merit book and do whatever you want. It couldn't be helped that the Sikong Zun knew how to speak. In any case, no one else dared to identify him as the Lightning Devil King. Then, Ji Ning's words were basically slandering him. He didn't care at all. On the contrary, he could bite back and say that Ji Ning had a rebellious heart. Among the crowd, there were those who believed in Ji Ning, and there were also those who believed in the Sikong Zun. For a moment, there was no end to the quarrel. Foam Yanran was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Although she absolutely believed in Ji Ning's words, she didn't understand that Ji Ning's actions today were very unwise. Rushing over so recklessly, in the end, he might not get anything. Instead, how many people came? How many people would die? Was it really worth it to die in vain like this? Chapter 898. You don't understand. Haim, Myung-keo shook her head and said, You can tell just by looking at their expressions. They clearly know that they will die, but they still came here fearlessly. This person is not as stupid as you. On the contrary, he is very smart. He knows that he might not be able to get anything today. He might not be able to kill Sikong Zun, and he might not be able to make the people of Divine Phoenix Empire believe that Sikong Zun and the Grand Tutor are the two demon kings of true Devil Empire. But as long as a portion of people are willing to believe, then he will have succeeded. This can be done through other methods. Fong Yanran was puzzled. You don't understand. He must have tried all the methods, but none of them were effective. Because of this, he took the risk and used this last resort. Haim Myung-keo was the holy son of the sacred dynasty. Her understanding of governance was much better than Feng Yanran's. Many so-called smart people felt that things were impossible, so they were not willing to try. That way they could protect themselves, but it was not beneficial to the empire. And it was precisely these stupid people who wanted to try even if there was a slight possibility. Even if they really died, they were not willing to give up that glimmer of hope. This was the reason why Divine Phoenix Empire was so powerful today. Ling Xiao did not understand politics, but he admired this Ji Ning very much. Not to mention other things. Just daring to expose Sikong Zue and the Grand Tutor's true colors in front of so many people required a lot of courage, because the slightest carelessness could have killed him on the spot. He believed that before Ji Ning came here, he had gone through an intense battle of thoughts. From the moment he led the soldiers into the imperial city, he did not think that he would be able to return alive. Perhaps he had even made arrangements for his funeral. Even if he died, he would completely expose true Devil Empire's scheme. Perhaps most people would not believe him, but as long as a portion of people were willing to believe, then even if the fire was sown, it would one day burn into a raging fire. Brothers, what are we here for today? Ji Ning roared loudly. Kill the sea race, kill the traitors. Their voices rang out in the square in unison, as loud and clear as thunder. Once we make a move, there is no chance of survival. Are you still willing to go crazy with me? Ji Ning asked again. For the country and the people, I can die without regrets. I can die without regrets. This voice echoed in Ling Xiao's ears for a long time. What a great for the country and the people. I can die without regrets. This was a true soldier. Although he was not a soldier and did not have such great ambitions, at this moment he was deeply moved by these people. Such a general, such soldiers. Wouldn't it be a pity if he died in such a dubious manner? Is there any way to save them? The face under the ghost mask was slightly anxious. Sikong Zun's face revealed a sinister smile. How could they not know that Ji Ning had come to the imperial city? The reason why he didn't kill them along the way was to allow them to reach the imperial city smoothly. Only then would he be able to kill them legitimately. Suddenly, many soldiers rushed out from the square. All of them were armed with strong bows and crossbows. They completely surrounded Ji Ning and the others, leaving no room for escape. Ji Ning, you have committed treason and colluded with the enemy. Today, under the orders of the Emperor, we are here to arrest you. Sikong Zun sneered. Death is nothing to be afraid of. But before I, Ji Ning, die, I will definitely drag a few of you down with me. Surrounded by so many soldiers, Ji Ning appeared to be even calmer. Since there was no hope of survival in the first place, then there was nothing to be afraid of. General Ji Ning, don't do this. Once you make a move, you will give them something to use against you. Then they will be able to act wantonly. Feng Yanran was anxious. Others could ignore Ji Ning, but she could not. This was because Ji Ning had saved the lives of many people from the Fire Phoenix tribe. Although she could not remember the past clearly, the older generation of the Fire Phoenix tribe still remembered it clearly. As she spoke, she rushed out and stood between the Sikong Zun and Ji Ning. At this moment, among the soldiers behind Ji Ning, a sinister look flashed in the eyes of one of them. He aimed his bow and arrow at Feng Yanran. No one knew that he was actually a spy that the imperial tutor had placed beside Ji Ning. Before coming here today, he had received a secret report. If Ji Ning did not make a move, he would. When the time came and there was a conflict, he would definitely kill Ji Ning here. As long as Ji Ning died, the Divine Phoenix Empire would lose one of its pillars. After that, things would be much easier to handle. Whoosh! The arrow pierced through the air at an extremely fast speed. Even Ji Ning did not react. Not to mention Feng Yanran. If this arrow hit, then not only would Feng Yanran be seriously injured or even die on the spot, but Ji Ning would also become a great enemy of the Empire. Someone's plot would succeed completely. Feng Yanran was stunned. Jining was stunned. Sikong Zun smiled. However, at this moment, the arrow encountered a strong resistance. Ling Xiao suddenly appeared in front of Feng Yanran, and the tough arrow was directly broken by him. He was able to react in time because he had already sensed that there was something wrong with that person's aura, so he was prepared. After all, his powerful soul energy was no joke. Things did not end here. Ling Xiao's figure flashed. In a breath's time, he was beside that person and pulled him out of the group. Feng Yanran let out a long sigh of relief. Jining was also very glad. Sikong Zun was gnashing his teeth. The plan was about to succeed, but it was interrupted by this guy who came out of nowhere. Who was he? The three of them were actually very confused. However, Sikong Zun was also very cunning. He shouted, "Jining, you actually dared to shoot Miss Yanran. It seems that you are very ambitious. Shoot the arrows. Kill these people." At this moment, no one in the square sympathized with Jining. In fact, no one believed Jining's words anymore. If Jining died at this moment, then it would be a really sad death. He would not be killed so easily. However, if Sikong Zun joined in, he would not be able to leave alive today. Stop! The one who spoke was Ling Xiao. If it was just shouting, those people would not listen to him at all. However, this time he integrated a strong mountain river intent into his shout. The pressure of this intent made those soldiers who were not very strong put down their crossbows. "What are you doing, Grimace Man?" Sikong Zun was anxious. The appearance of this person in front of him was the second time he had ruined his plan. He originally thought that this person was Feng Yanran's guard. However, it seemed that this person was trying to save Jining's life. Ling Xiao did not pay attention to him. Instead, he asked the person who ambushed him on the ground coldly, "Who gave you permission to shoot?" "I don't know. I am a spy that the sea race sent to Jining. My superiors ordered me to provoke Jining to attack at this time so that I could find a reason to attack Jining." Ling Xiao only asked one question, and the other party told him everything. This was obviously due to his strong soul control. Chapter 899. Everyone heard that. General Jining is really being watched by the Sea Tribe. His every move is being monitored by the Sea Tribe. Otherwise, do you think he could have arrived at the Imperial City safely? Many people had overlooked this matter, but once Ling Xiao reminded them, they felt that something was wrong. This devil-masked man is right. It seems like someone really wants General Jining's life and deliberately set a trap to lure him into it. It must be the Sea Tribe. No way are the State Preceptor and the Vice President really the Yin-Yang Demon King and the Electric Demon King of the Sea Tribe. If that's the case, it's too scary. Ling Xiao had only done something insignificant, but it had completely changed the standpoint of the people in the square. From doubting Jining to believing Jining's words now. "Mr. Devil Mask Zun, this matter has nothing to do with you. Please take Miss Yanran and step aside." Jining was grateful to the Devil Masked Man, but he did not want to implicate more people because of this matter, so he could only reject Ling Xiao's kindness. "General, you're wrong." Ling Xiao shook his head slightly. "This matter is not only related to me. It's very important. It's related to you? Are you?" Jining suddenly thought of something. Could this devil-masked man be a warrior from the Heavenly Dragon Continent? "General, you're right. I'm a warrior from the Heavenly Dragon Continent who was lucky enough to survive. I witnessed the Yin-Yang Demon King and the Electric Demon King teaming up to destroy the Holy City." Ling Xiao nodded. Hearing this, the Sikong Zun suddenly became nervous. The warriors in the square also became nervous. There was actually another insider who dared to stand up in front of the Sikong Zun. This person was really bold. "Then can you prove my words?" Jining asked. Ling Xiao was silent for a moment. Then he looked at Sikong Zun and said calmly, "The Electric Demon King actually has to disguise himself as a human to mingle in the Phoenix Academy. Don't you think it's beneath you?" I'm not sure if the Imperial Preceptor is the Yin-Yang Demon King, because I've never seen the current Imperial Preceptor. Furthermore, the Yin-Yang Demon King's appearance is ever-changing, so it's hard to be sure. But Sikong Zun is the Demon King of Lightning. This can't be false. Good. How dare you? There are still martial artists like you on the Sky Dragon continent. The Ming sacred dynasty hasn't completely decayed yet. Jining clapped and cheered. What a joke. You're just a coward. Yet you actually dare to criticize me based on a one-sided statement? Sikong Zun sneered. Yeah, this person is wearing a ghost mask. Who is he? Don't tell me it's shameful. Then his words can't be trusted. Sikong Zun was a sly old fox. With one sentence he regained the upper hand. However, Ling Xiao was not anxious. He just smiled calmly and said, "The Electric Demon King wants to know what I look like. He wants to kill me behind my back. I'm just an ordinary warrior. My strength is not as good as yours, so I naturally want to protect myself. However, it's very simple to prove that you're from the Sea Tribe. It doesn't matter whether I take off my mask or not." Hearing this, the square suddenly quieted down. Everyone wanted to know how to prove that Sikong Zun was from the Sea Tribe. There are many differences between the Sea Clan and humans. Although some Sea Clan members look exactly the same as humans, their blood is blue. This is one of them. Ling Xiao said calmly, some clever impersonators can use their bloodline to disguise their blood as red. However, there's another big difference between the Sea Tribe and humans. Most people probably don't know about this difference. The veins of the sky of the human race are all in the form of a deep-sea liquid. However, for the Sea Tribe or humans who have been modified by the Sea Tribe, their veins of the sky will undergo various changes. I wonder if the Vice Dean of the Phoenix Academy dares to prove it? Ha 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 ha, why wouldn't I dare? Sikong Zun laughed loudly. There's no need to do this. But in order to prove my innocence in front of so many divine Phoenix Continent warriors, what's wrong with proving it to you? After he finished speaking, a drop of dark red blood dripped down. The first difference was rejected. Then Sikong Zun activated his heavenly elemental energy and turned his skin almost transparent. This allowed all the warriors to see the shape of his veins of the sky. They were in the form of a dark blue liquid like the sea. How is it, Ghost Mask Man? Now you have nothing to say, right? Sikong Zun sneered. However, at this moment, there were people below the stage who were secretly laughing. They thought that Ling Xiao was really cunning. Idiot, Ji Ning scolded. That's right, this guy is an idiot. Sikong Zun pointed at Ling Xiao and said, he wanted to help you, but he's doing more harm than good. This general, you're an idiot. You've been pretending to be a human all this time. Don't you know that a human's veins of the sky are never in a fixed form? Only the Sea Clan's veins of the sky are as blue as the sea. Ji Ning said loudly. Sikong Zun was stunned. He had been pretending to be a human all these years. He had only cared about his own cultivation and the matters of the true demon's empire. He had never cared about any other human. He had not even cared about the disciples beside him. Therefore, he knew nothing about a human's veins of the sky. At this moment, all the warriors standing in the square were from the divine Phoenix continent. There were a few human warriors who did not dare to make a sound. The few humans on the stage were all transformed by the Sea Clan. They did not dare to make a sound. Therefore, even when Sikong Zun confidently showed off his veins of the sky to others, no one reminded him that it was a scam and a trap. I believe that I don't need to say much about what's going to happen next, right? Sikong Zun is a member of the Sea Clan. There's no doubt about that. And the true Demon's Empire is an empire founded by the Sea Clan. I believe that many people already know this. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, it doesn't matter whether he's the Electric Demon King or not. What's important is that he's a member of the Sea Clan, an ambitious foreign race. Whether we're humans, phoenixes, or other races, we're all citizens of the sacred dynasty. The Sea Clan is not. This person has planned every step carefully and meticulously. He set up a dead-end situation that General Jining had no choice but to come and die. No matter how smart the general is, it's useless. Because even though he knew it was a dead-end situation, he still came to die. If he didn't come, this empire would be finished. Ling Xiao's voice was very calm, but the countless warriors of the Divine Phoenix Empire in the square were sweating profusely. It was too scary. If this guy's evil plan really succeeded, then the empire would lose an absolute general. Once war broke out in the future, it would be very troublesome. What happened in the Heavenly Dragon Continent is a bloody example. This Sikong Zun infiltrated the Heavenly King sect and addressed the Sage Emperor as his brother. In the end, he killed the Sage Emperor. Do you really think that such a person can get along with him peacefully? Ling Xiao's voice suddenly became louder. No, the crowd was agitated. What a bunch of nonsense. Why don't you shut your stinky mouth? Come, aren't the Empire's patrols here? This person dares to slander the Grand Tutor and the Vice Principal of the Phoenix Academy. Why don't you arrest him? At this moment, Sikong Zun had already lost his cool. Chapter 900. After being teased by Ling Xiao, Sikong Zun's heart was filled with hatred. He no longer had the wisdom he once had. The current him was probably even less intelligent than a 3-year-old child. The things he did were getting more and more stupid. He had already proven his identity as a member of the Sea Clan. Who would still dare to listen to him? One had to know that the fear that the true Devil Empire brought to the profound world had yet to dissipate. When the warriors present saw him now, other than hatred, there was only fear. Even the people from the Phoenix Academy did not dare to listen to his orders. Listening to the orders of a member of the Sea Clan to kill someone who spoke the truth? If this were to spread, how would the warriors of the Phoenix Academy face the world? All right, if you don't do it, I'll do it myself. Sikong Zun seemed to have realized this. Even though these people did not dare to attack him, they would not listen to his orders anymore. He had to kill this devil-masked man. No matter who he was, he had to die. Those who dared to tease him, the Lightning Demon King, never had a good ending. What a joke! Do you dare to touch him? Ji Ning laughed coldly and said loudly, "This is the Divine Phoenix Empire, not your true Devil Empire. If you want to kill someone here today, you have to ask the warriors of the Divine Phoenix Empire first." That's right. The true Devil Empire killed so many of our clansmen back then. Do you still want to watch them run wild here? With Ji Ning standing up, many warriors who hated the true Devil Empire and the Sea Clan also stood up. Sikong Zun suddenly realized that in this world, other than strength, one's mouth was also very powerful. His mouth was even more frightening than a divine weapon. This devil-masked man had forced him into a desperate situation with just a few words. The true Devil Empire's plan would probably be ruined because of today's events. His strength was obviously many times stronger than this devil-masked man, even dozens of times, but he could not make a move, because once he made a move, he would immediately become the target of public criticism and die tragically on the spot. This devil-masked man was really calculative. He even considered this point. No wonder he dared to stand up. Seeing Sikong Zun in such a sorry state, Ling Xiao felt very happy. Although this was not as satisfying as defeating Sikong Zun with his own hands, it was still a different kind of satisfaction. Come, follow me to capture this sea race spy and hand him over to the emperor for punishment. How could Ji Ning let go of such a good opportunity? With an order, many martial artists were eager to give it a try. The imperial edict has arrived. However, at this moment, a person floated over, holding an imperial edict in his hand, emitting a gentle light. It was very difficult to fake an imperial edict from the Divine Phoenix Empire. The Divine Phoenix aura on it could only be emitted by the Divine Phoenix seal. Long live, long live, long live. Although there was nothing he could do, Jining had no choice but to kneel and listen to the edict. Everyone else followed suit. The Emperor decrees that the Divine Phoenix Empire and the True Demons Empire form an alliance of one heart and one mind. The Lightning Demon King Sikong Zun joining the Phoenix Academy is our decree. There is no need to investigate further. In addition, Jining's loyalty to the Emperor and his country is commendable. Although he entered the imperial city without permission, his merits outweigh his faults. He is specially bestowed with 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. You may receive your reward and return to your encampment without delay. Imperial Edict. After reading the Imperial Edict, Jining's eyes were red. He was extremely angry. This emperor was really asking a tiger for its skin and wanted to cooperate with the True Demons Empire? He let out a long sigh, revealing some helplessness. If this was really the case, he really had no other choice. If he still insisted on capturing Sikong Zun at this time, then he would be a great sinner who started a war and broke the peace. General Jining, are you not going to accept the edict? This official accepts the edict and thanks the emperor for his kindness. Long live the emperor! Jining received the imperial edict with trembling hands, but his heart was mournful. Was the Divine Phoenix Empire really going to walk on the path of self-destruction? He shook his head, helplessly. Looking at Sikong Zun's complacent appearance, he was extremely angry. General, there is no need to be angry. You have already done what you wanted to do today. Sikong Zun's identity has been exposed. Even if the Emperor protects him, he is still an enemy in the eyes of the Divine Phoenix Empire's citizens. He is someone who needs to be guarded against. As for the Emperor of the Ice Phoenix clan, I'm afraid he is already disloyal. They no longer have a chance in this year's election. Ling Xiao's voice sounded in Jining's mind. It was a direct transmission. That's right. Your Excellency is right. Jining immediately became spirited. There was less than a year left until the election. It would not be easy for the True Demons Empire to do anything in this period of time. As long as it was next year, everything would be clear. Mister, can you leave the city with me for a chat? Jining suddenly looked at Ling Xiao. This person was not stupid. He knew that Ling Xiao had offended Sikong Zun. If he continued to stay here, he might be in danger. Therefore, he proposed to have a chat with Ling Xiao. In reality, he wanted to protect Ling Xiao. Sikong Zun dared to attack Ling Xiao, but he did not dare to attack him. Thank you for your kind intentions, General. However, I am only a martial artist. I am not willing to get involved in political disputes. I just said a few words of fairness. I will leave now to avoid being hunted down. Ling Xiao shook his head and did not agree to Jining's request. He was thinking further than Jining. If he left with Jining, he was afraid that others would think that he was Jining's subordinate and that he was a trap set by Jining. Such a scheming general would not be liked by the royal family. When that happened, Jining would be in even more danger. What kind of general was the least threatening? A simple-minded, and straightforward person. Jining was such a person. There was no need for him to be misunderstood. After saying that, Ling Xiao was about to leave. However, he heard Sun Shang behind him sneer. This is the Phoenix Academy. You dare to cause trouble here. Do you think you can leave so easily? Sikong Zun could not make things difficult for him, but Sun Shang could. You're really a loyal dog of the True Demons Empire. Ling Xiao could not help but sneer, as he said sarcastically, the Saint Emperor has treated you well, yet you betrayed him. Everyone from the Divine Phoenix Academy. This kind of dog that will bite its master, you should be more careful when using him in the future. Don't let him bite you instead. You, what a sharp-tongued brat. If I don't kill you today, I'll be the dean of the Divine Phoenix Medical College for nothing. Sun Shang was so angry that his whole body trembled. If I want to leave, can you stop me? Ling Xiao sneered. In terms of movement skills, It was not that he looked down on Sunshang, but other than a few people present, no one was his match. An after-image broke through the air and disappeared into the horizon in an instant. Sunshang did not even have time to move. What amazing movement skills! Who is this person? From his voice, he sounds like he's in his 40s or 50s. His voice can also be a disguise. The Phoenix Academy has offended such a person. I'm afraid it won't be peaceful in the future. In the square, everyone was talking about it. On the high platform, the Peacock Phoenix and the Thunderhawk Phoenix looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They thought that their speed was already very fast. However, compared to this person, it was like comparing a small witch to a big witch. Chapter 901. Let's go too. Jining turned the winged sky wolf's head and then threw a sentence at the Sikong Zun. Sikong Zun, with me, Jining, here, your true Devil Empire can forget about having any improper thoughts about the Divine Phoenix Empire. After saying that, this pair of people quickly left. They really came in a hurry, and also in a hurry. The winged sky wolf's speed was extremely shocking. Yellow sand filled the sky. Smoke and dust flew everywhere. This was a city with an extremely harsh illusion. It stood on the border of the Divine Phoenix Empire, guarding the northern gate of the empire, facing the empire's most ferocious enemy, the Black Crow Empire. In the entire Divine Phoenix continent, the Divine Phoenix Empire occupied close to half of the territory. The Black Crow Empire occupied 80% of the remaining half. And this Black Crow Empire also had the backing of the White Tiger Continent. The White Tiger Continent was the third continent, and its overall strength was much stronger than the Divine Phoenix Continent. If the Divine Phoenix Continent's practitioners wanted to go to the White Tiger Continent, it was impossible for them to reach the Grotto Heaven Realm. Not only was this route filled with danger, but it was also because there were countless experts on the White Tiger Continent. Perhaps the reason why the Divine Phoenix Empire chose to form an alliance with the True Devil Empire was also related to the Black Crow Empire. On the dust-filled yellow sand road, a person stood, a person wearing a ghost mask. Violent winds wreaked havoc, and yellow sand filled the sky. But when it was a few meters away from him, it naturally bounced off, forming a strange ball. A group of people rushed over from afar, and when they approached this person, they all stopped. Mr. Ghost Mask. This group was Jining's group that had left the Imperial City, and that Ghost Mask was naturally Ling Xiao. May I have a word with you? Ling Xiao cupped his hands and said, the reason why he rushed over and waited here before Jining was only to form an alliance with Jining. To deal with the True Devil Empire, he naturally couldn't do it alone, so he needed an ally. This Jining was a bold and straightforward person. If it was possible to form an alliance with him, then he would finally have a place to stay in Divine Phoenix Empire in the future. This is not a good place to talk. Why don't we go to the northern desert city for a chat? Jining looked around warily. Fine. Ling Xiao nodded. He had been traveling for such a long time and was a little tired. It would be good if he could rest in the northern desert city. Moreover, since they were going to form an alliance, they had to reveal their true identities. Otherwise, it was unlikely that there would be any mutual trust between them. Come on, give Mr. Ghost Mask a winged sky wolf. Jining was naturally very interested in this mysterious, devil-masked man. When he heard that Ling Xiao had agreed to go to the northern desert city with him, he was very pleased. Therefore, he ordered his subordinates to give up one of their mounts. Many thanks. Ling Xiao did not decline. Even though his heaven's origin energy was long and vigorous, it was still a little too much for him. Therefore, it was a good thing to ride the winged sky wolf and rest for a while. He was not in a hurry to reveal his identity. Since Jining felt that this was not a good place to talk, then he must be worried about being monitored. He had to be more careful. A pair of people galloped majestically. A moment later, at the place where the winged sky wolf was flying at a low altitude, a strange plant suddenly appeared. Its outer appearance was similar to a cactus, but it had a human face. The human face was divided into yin and yang, one black and one white. This was clearly a characteristic that only the yin-yang demon king's subordinates had. Quickly report back. That devil-masked man has already contacted Jining. It's a pity that the northern desert city is protected by a magic array, so we can't get close. The yin-yang demon king shouted to his side. Then a rustling sound came from the ground and quickly went away. The northern desert city was already close. From afar, one could see that the tall city walls were almost like a sand city. It did not have the luxury of the imperial city, nor the grandeur of the sacred city. There was only desolation and a harsh environment. This is a lone city. Once it's surrounded, the reinforcements will not be able to arrive. General, have you not thought of retreating some distance and relying on the mountains to build a city and then strengthen the defense? Ling Xiao asked doubtfully. Jining shook his head and smiled. Mr. Devil-Masked Man, look behind this city. Behind? Ling Xiao patted the winged sky wolf lightly. The beast rose into the air and flew to a height of more than 10 meters. As expected, they could see behind the city. It was actually an oasis. Not only was there a rich water source, but there were also many people living there. At a glance, one could tell that most of these people were mediocre. Some were not even martial artists. If the northern desert city was retreated, this place would be completely exposed to the iron hooves of the Black Crow Empire. In that case, not only would blood flow like a river, the only oasis in this area would be destroyed. Thousands of people would be displaced. It seems that I did not misjudge him. This Jining is not only forthright and straightforward, but also treats the people very well. If it was someone else, I'm afraid it would be difficult to put himself in the most dangerous place and let the people hide behind. Ling Xiao's judgment of Jining in his heart had improved. Mr. Devil-Masked Man, you may not know that the northern desert city used to be behind the oasis. That way, life would be more comfortable. But after the general came here, he built a new city. All of it was built by soldiers. He did not take any able-bodied men from the people. A deputy general of the northern desert city could not help but say, "Oh, if Mr. Devil-Masked Man does not believe me, you can ask around in the village. The northern desert city is still in the process of being built. According to the plan, it will be surrounded by the oasis. In this way, if the enemy invades, they will not be able to bypass the northern desert city to harm the people." That deputy general saw the shock on Ling Xiao's face and could not help but add another sentence. "I believe you." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "For someone who would not hesitate to give up his life for a promise, it is not difficult for him to do such a thing. Sigh, I am only trying my best. The current Divine Phoenix Empire looks glamorous on the surface, but in reality, it is surrounded by strong enemies and is full of danger. As the #1 empire in the Divine Phoenix continent, everyone wants to see you fall and then divide this fat piece of meat." Jining sighed and said, "What's more, I am not protecting the people here entirely out of kindness. More importantly, I want to nurture more useful martial artists. Although the conditions here are not as good as Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College, it is better to train people." "That's right. Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College will send a batch of students here every year to train," that deputy general said excitedly. "When this group of students see the martial artists of the Black Crow Empire, their usual arrogance completely disappears. Each and every one of them is so scared that they cry out, 'Wah, wah, wah.' Even if they are stronger than the opponent, they will not be able to defeat them. They must train well so that they will not be killed on the battlefield in the future." He is right. Mr. Devil-Mask should also know that the next continent is the White Tiger continent, right? Jining suddenly asked. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "I know." But Mr. Devil-Mask definitely does not know that there is an island between the Divine Phoenix continent and the White Tiger continent. Jining asked, Ling Xiao shook his head and said, I did not listen. Chapter 902. Ling Xiao really didn't know that there was a mysterious island between the Divine Phoenix Continent and the White Tiger Continent. Jining smiled and said, It's normal that you don't know. Unless the martial artists of the Heavenly Dragon Continent have been to the White Tiger Continent, there really aren't many people who know about this island. You all only know that the Divine Phoenix Empire and the Black Crow Empire are at odds with each other on the Divine Phoenix Continent. But you don't know that in this sea region, the truly powerful empires aren't these two. What? It was Ling Xiao's first time hearing about this. Jining said, Mr. might be surprised, but in fact, other than the two empires and countless small countries, the most powerful ones in the Divine Phoenix Ocean are the 5 immortal islands. The 5 immortal islands aren't that big, and each island is only 1% the size of the Divine Phoenix Continent. However, their strength is so strong that it makes people fearful. After the 5 immortal islands, there are 7 martial zone islands that are on par with the 2 empires. Although the Divine Phoenix Empire is an empire, it's under the control of one of the 5 immortal islands, the Everlasting Joy Immortal Island. The Black Crow Empire is under the control of the Black Water Immortal Island. Hearing this, Ling Xiao was shocked. One must know that the Divine Phoenix Empire's strength was far stronger than the current Sacred Dynasty. However, such a strong empire with the Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College was actually under the control of an island? He felt like he was dreaming. Then the war between the Black Crow Empire and the Divine Phoenix Empire. Won't the Everlasting Joy Immortal Island and the Black Water Immortal Island interfere? Ling Xiao couldn't help but ask. They won't. On the contrary, they're happy to see this kind of war, because the more wars there are, the more outstanding martial artists there will be. Jining shook his head and said, I'm afraid you still don't know. The enemies the 5 immortal islands are facing are from the White Tiger Continent. They won't care too much about the war between the empires, small countries, or martial zone islands. In order to select talents to fight against the White Tiger Continent and resist the harassment from there, they'll basically select talents every 5 or 10 years. The selection method is usually carried out in a large competition, but it's much crueler than the martial arts festival you participated in before. It was even possible that the large competition would involve fighting against the savage pirates and the martial artists of the White Tiger Continent. If he failed, he would really die. But even so, at that time, the entire Divine Phoenix Sea area and even the young people of your Sky Dragon Sea area will go. Because once you survive in this concentrated selection, you will obtain countless benefits. The benefits are much more than the heaven's chosen child of your Sky Dragon Continent. They might even make an exception and let you join some immortal island to learn and cultivate. That would be like a carp leaping through the Dragon Gate. After listening to this, Ling Xiao suddenly realized that he was really like a frog at the bottom of a well. His understanding of the profound world was really too little. He actually didn't know that in the Divine Phoenix Sea region, the strongest was not the Divine Phoenix Empire, but the 5 immortal islands. The monarchs of the Divine Phoenix Empire and the Black Crow Empire, as well as the island masters of the 7 great martial Grandmaster Islands. Have they never thought of replacing the 5 immortal islands and becoming an existence whose strength is close to the 5 immortal islands? Ling Xiao asked. Jining nodded and said, Of course, but the 5 immortal islands aren't idiots. They have gathered almost all the outstanding talents under their hands and controlled most of the resources. Even if the Divine Phoenix Empire and the Black Crow Empire's territories are so huge, they still have to offer close to 90% of their resources as tribute. The 5 immortal islands will only become stronger and stronger, while the 2 great empires and the 7 great martial Grandmaster Islands will only become weaker and weaker. No wonder the Black Crow Empire colluded with the forces of the White Tiger Continent, and the Divine Phoenix Empire wants to form an alliance with the True Devil Empire. It seems like this is also to challenge the 5 immortal islands' ruling position, right? Ling Xiao said with a smile. Mr. is indeed amazing. You hit the nail on the head. Jining said with a smile. The northern desert city is right in front. As they spoke, everyone had already arrived at the foot of the northern desert city. Looking closer, the northern desert city seemed even more lonely. In the raging wind, the city that stood tall and didn't fall was like the stabilizing needle of the northern part of the empire. If it fell, the northern gate of the empire would be completely opened. The great general is back. He came back alive. He didn't abandon us. On the city gate tower, voices that were filled with ecstasy could be heard. These people anxiously watched Jining leave the northern desert city and head towards the imperial city. Their hearts were filled with grief, but they couldn't stop him. They could only pray in their hearts that the great general could come back alive. When this extravagant hope became reality, they were filled with tears and snot. However, even so, the guards of the city were still in good order. The city gate wasn't opened. The soldiers suppressed their excitement and acted according to the military rules. Please show the great general's waist token. On the city gate tower, a deputy general shouted loudly. Ling Xiao sighed inwardly. Indeed, a general would have a subordinate of his own. Such strict discipline was really admirable. Even if they saw the great general himself, they still had to prove it. Who knew if the great general was being held hostage? Or maybe some demon that could transform into the great general disguised as him. They had to be careful about all of these. Jining took out his waist token and activated his heavenly yuan force. The words on the waist token lit up. Only Jining's heavenly yuan force could activate the waist token. Therefore, it was useless even if the waist token was taken away by someone else. Great General. It's really the Great General. Quickly open the city gate. Quickly. After receiving confirmation, all the soldiers were excited. They jumped and laughed as if they were celebrating a grand festival. I, Jining, have come back alive. The shout was filled with excitement, completely igniting the enthusiasm of the entire northern desert city. The entire city started to celebrate. On the streets and alleys, the people lined the streets to welcome him. They held the fruits and snacks they had made themselves. Ling Xiao was touched. These people's excitement wasn't fake. The tears in their eyes were the most sincere. This was really a good general. He was too similar to his previous noble, Lin Zhe. However, he was much more powerful than Lin Zhe. This is the general's residence. Ling Xiao couldn't believe it. Although Jining's residence was bigger than an ordinary house, compared to the mansions he had seen before, it was like a beggar's house. The area was very small, and there were basically no decorations. Stepping into the general's residence, Jining ordered people to prepare tea and snacks. Then he sat down with Ling Xiao and prepared to discuss business. Mister, since you were waiting for me on the road, there must be something important. Now that there are only the two of us in the hall, why don't you just say it? Jining said with a smile. Ling Xiao didn't say anything. Instead, he slowly took off the ferocious ghost mask on his face. The face under the mask revealed a kind smile. His eyes were deep and wise, as if he could see through everything. He's so young. Jining cried out in surprise. He thought that the person under the mask was at least 40 or 50 years old, or even over 100 years old. However, he didn't expect it to be the face of a 15 or 16-year-old boy. Chapter 903. Ha ha ha, as expected. Heroes come from youths since ancient times. Mr. is amazing. I'm impressed. After being surprised, Jining laughed loudly. Obviously, he admired Ling Xiao even more. Such a young man could stand out in that kind of atmosphere and confront the Lightning Demon King, refuting the Lightning Demon King until he was speechless. More importantly, the clever young man had even allowed the cunning Electric Demon King to fall into his trap, eventually exposing his identity. Although the Divine Phoenix Emperor was protecting him, the Lightning Demon King was not brought to justice. However, The lightning demon king who had exposed his identity would not be able to do anything. Unlike him, he was simply a straightforward person. He almost lost his life, and there might not be any effect. Great General, you don't have to call me Mister. Just call me Ling Xiao. I'm only 15 years old this year. I don't dare to call you Mister in front of you. Ling Xiao smiled and shook his head. This junior admires General's bravery, fearlessness, and loyalty. That's why I wanted to meet General today. If you don't mind, it would be best if we could become friends. Little Mister is too modest. You're the one who is truly young and fearless. You're smarter than others. I can't compare to you in this aspect. Ji Ning waved his hand. It's my honor to be friends with someone like Little Mister. Great General is indeed a straightforward person. Junior will not beat around the bush. Ling Xiao went straight to the point. Junior was originally a disciple of the Yuehua school in the Heavenly Dragon Continent. Now that the True Devil Empire is pressuring us, the Yuehua school is in imminent danger. This time, I came to the Divine Phoenix Continent not only to focus on improving my martial cultivation, but also to lead troops to help. Sai, Little Mister has also seen that the True Devil Empire and the Divine Phoenix Empire have formed an alliance. If I attack the True Devil Empire at this time, it's equivalent to declaring war. It's equivalent to putting the common people in the flames of war. Ji Ning frowned helplessly. Ling Xiao smiled. General, you misunderstand. I am not talking about saving them now. The Sacred Dynasty is still alive and has a few Yin-Yang realm experts. True Demon Empire won't be able to do anything to them for now. I am talking about the future. This can be considered. In my opinion, that True Devil Empire has the ambition of a wolf, and will make a move on Divine Phoenix Empire sooner or later. Ji Ning nodded. As long as the General says so, it's fine. This junior will take his leave first. This time, I didn't inform my friends before I came out. I'm afraid that they will be anxious. After finishing his business, Ling Xiao got up and was about to leave. He did not intend to push Ji Ning too hard. Time would reveal a person's true nature, and many things still needed to be done slowly. Little Mister is indeed a person who values friendship and righteousness. All right then, I'll see you out. Ji Ning stood up and said, All right. Just as the two of them walked out of the general's residence, Ling Xiao was shocked by the scene in front of him. In front of the general's residence, there are actually 2 long lines of people standing on the road. They suddenly knelt on the ground and shouted at Ling Xiao, who had already put on the ghost mask again. Thank you, Mr. Ghost Mask, for saving our lives. The same words were repeated several times. Their voices resounded throughout the entire northern desert city, causing Ling Xiao to be extremely excited. What ability do I, Ling Xiao, have to be thanked by so many people? It seems that this Ji Ning is really loved by the people of Northern Desert City. No wonder the people of the imperial family want to kill him. Ling Xiao sighed in his heart. Everyone, please get up. Your general is a righteous person and has a heart that loves the people. I am only doing my best. Ling Xiao slowly raised his hands in the air and released a powerful heaven's origin energy. He actually helped the thousands of people kneeling in front of the door up. Ji Ning, who was watching from the side, was shocked. If he was not wrong, Ling Xiao's strength was only a breakthrough heaven pulse martial artist. However, this terrifying heaven's origin energy was probably comparable to a heaven realm martial artist with heaven realm cultivation. This was a true monstrous genius. General, goodbye. Everyone, goodbye. Ling Xiao stretched out a pair of black and white light wings behind his back and turned into a black and white light that broke through the sky. Farewell, Mr. Ghost Mask. The soldiers and the people led by Ji Ning all cupped their hands in the same direction and watched the figure disappear quickly. Soldiers, listen up. Mr. Ghost Mask will be the savior of Northern Desert City. If he is in trouble, what should we do? Ji Ning asked loudly. Do your best and repay him with your life. Repay him with your life. Their voices were like thunder in the sky. It was very spectacular. Ha! I didn't expect this little guy to have grown to such a level. Jining, do you know who he is? An old man walked out of the general's mansion. If Ling Xiao was here, he would have found that this person was none other than his grandfather, Hong Qi. Old sect, leader Hong. Jining looked at Hong Qi and asked in surprise, "From what you said, that young man seems to know you. Who is he?" "Him. You've seen him before, but he was just a baby in swaddling clothes at that time," Hong Qi said with a smile. "It's him. Little Master." Jining's face was filled with ecstasy. "Yes, it's him. Back then, Ji Fuling and Yu Xianyue got a piece of Godstone on the Sky Dragon continent and kept it by their side. One day, their blood dripped on the Godstone at the same time. Then, the Godstone broke open and gave birth to a thumb-sized baby." Hong Qi's voice was gentle, and he continued with a smile. "From then on, they treated the baby as their own and named him Ling Xiao. Ling was taken from Ji Fuling's last word, and Yu Xuanyue's nickname was Xiao Xiao, so the baby's name was Ling Xiao. It's really Little Master. No wonder he has such outstanding aptitude. For more than 100,000 years, only 3 people were born from the God Stone. One was the successor of the Human King, the Clear Sky Emperor. Another was the Great Ape King of the same era as the Human King. The last one was the 9th generation Saint Emperor of the Sacred Dynasty, the Stone King. Our Little Master has been extraordinary since the day he was born." Jining said excitedly, "You're wrong. Those 3 were just ordinary stones that absorbed the essence of the sun and moon. The stone that gave birth to Ling Xiao is somewhat special. It should be said that Ling Xiao's achievements are even more extraordinary than those 3. Hong Qi said with emotion, "This old man is really looking forward to it." Ling Xiao did not see Hong Qi, which was a pity. But since Hong Qi appeared in the divine Phoenix continent, then the day he met Hong Qi was probably not far away. After returning to Qingshu College, Ling Xiao put all his thoughts into cultivation. The cultivation of a heaven-vain martial artist during the breakthrough period was still too low. He had to raise his cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome in the future. And the best place to raise his cultivation was naturally the Heaven Essence Pagoda in the center of the imperial city. Only the disciples of the 2 major academies were qualified to cultivate there. Chapter 904. As soon as he entered Qingshu College, Ling Xiao was not in a hurry to practice new martial arts. The Guangying inheritance alone was enough to keep him busy. Even with the mountain river martial soul, he could not fully comprehend the mysteries within a short period of time. As the saying goes, a fall into the pit, a gain in your wit. He had learned too many things in the past, so now he had to focus more on one thing. "Ling Xiao, you're finally back. I don't want to ask where you were, but as the saying goes, if you don't advance, you'll fall behind." Phoenix Academy's momentum is very strong now. After the Emperor publicly announced the cooperation with the True Demons Empire, many sea tribes joined the Phoenix Academy. Our Qingshu College is facing more resistance in the Heaven Essence Pagoda. Feng Yanran had been uneasy for 2 days after Ling Xiao left. She knew the true identity of the ghoul masked man. There was no need to guess. Seeing Ling Xiao's return, the stone in her heart finally fell to the ground. Qingshu College won't be kicked out of the Heaven Essence Pagoda, right? Isn't that too weak? Ling Xiao frowned. Of course not. In fact, Qingshu College has the advantage in the upper levels of the Heaven Essence Pagoda. However, the lower levels, the greater the advantage of the Phoenix Academy. Feng Yanran explained. Due to the Phoenix Academy's recent activities, they have recruited many heavenly pulse warriors and celestial realm disciples. These people have almost completely occupied the cultivation rooms on the first 3 levels, so the freshmen of Qingshu College have no chance to cultivate. What are the cultivation levels of the warriors on the first 3 levels? Ling Xiao asked. Basically, they are Heavenly Pulse Warriors, One Line Sky, and Yin Yang Sky, Realm Warriors. Feng, Yanran answered. I'm not afraid. Ling Xiao was slightly relieved. If it was only warriors of this realm, he could still deal with them. However, he was still a little confused, so he asked, won't the warriors of the upper levels interfere with the fights between the warriors of the lower levels? There isn't such an explicit rule, but everyone has an unspoken rule in their hearts. That is, martial artists on the same level can fight, but if the upper level bullies the lower level, then that is a violation of the rules. It will lead to a group brawl between the 2 great academies. Feng, Yanran explained. All right, that's enough. Let's go to the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda together. Right now, I'm really anxious to raise my cultivation base. That place is not a bad idea. After Ling Xiao got a general idea of the situation, he did not waste any more time. He used his movement technique and headed in the direction of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda. Only when you get closer would you discover the wonders of this Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda. This thing was like a huge magnet, and the surrounding spiritual qi was like iron shavings which were constantly being sucked into the pagoda, causing the density of spiritual qi here to be higher than anywhere else. Naturally, it was very suitable for cultivation. What was even more amazing was that this Heavenly Essence Pagoda was supported by multiple formations. Not only could it absorb the surrounding spiritual energy, but it could also absorb the essence of the sun and moon to produce spiritual energy. This caused the spiritual qi here to be richer than many spiritual qi veins, and it was endless. This Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda of the Divine Phoenix Empire is not much worse than the 5 Immortal Islands Cultivation Secret Realm, the 7 major Martial Grandmaster Islands, and the Black Crow Empire are very jealous of it. Feng, Yanran explained. They're here too. As he walked closer, Ling Xiao saw Lan Yu, Yingwia, Long Chen, and many other Qingshu College's disciples standing there. They were clearly at the bottom of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda, but they were unable to enter to cultivate. Their expressions were not good. Every level of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda has 10 individual cultivation rooms and a large cultivation room. The individual cultivation rooms are naturally the best. Not only are there no disturbances, but the spiritual qi can also be enjoyed by one person alone. The more people a large cultivation room can accommodate, the worse the effect of cultivation. Feng, Yanran explained as she walked. Not only did the people from the Phoenix Academy occupy 25 of the top 30 individual cultivation rooms, but they also did not allow our Qingshu College's disciples to enter the large cultivation room. They are really overbearing. Doesn't the imperial family care about this? Ling Xiao asked. They never care about the disputes between the 2 academies. Even if they do care, they will be on the side of the Phoenix Academy. Now that Qingshu College is at a disadvantage in the first 3 levels, they will naturally pretend to be blind. Feng, Yanran said indignantly. If that's the case, then it's easy to handle. Ling Xiao respected the rules set by others. However, if someone did not follow the rules first, then there was no need for him to follow the rules. Isn't the Phoenix Academy overbearing and unreasonable? I'm even more overbearing than you. Even more unreasonable. Ling Xiao, you're here. Haim Miankeo was the first to notice Ling Xiao and Feng Yanran. Ling Xiao nodded slightly. The moment he stepped into the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda, he felt the spiritual qi that seeped out of the pagoda. It was very terrifying. Many disciples of Qingshu College could not enter the cultivation room, so they could only cultivate near the pagoda. Although the effect was far from that of the cultivation room, it was much better than other places. Haim Miankeo, you should be able to get a private cultivation room, right? Why don't you do it? Ling Xiao asked as he looked at the martial artists of Phoenix Academy guarding the cultivation room. Among those martial artists, the strongest cultivation was only at the yin and yang heavenly realm. With Haim, Mian KOS strength and Tianji martial soul, she should be able to win. I'm waiting for you. Haim, Mian KO smiled. You don't have to wait anymore. Zhao Ji, Zhao Xi, Lung Hao Yuling, Yao Ling, Ing Wuya, the 6 of you can do it. They won't let you use the cultivation room, so you can get a private one. With your current strength, it shouldn't be a problem, right? After the disaster in the Sky Dragon continent, it could be said that fortune and misfortune came hand in hand. Although it was a little bitter, these people had greatly improved their cultivation during the training, especially Dai Yuling, Dai Yaoling, and Lung Hao. Their cultivation was now comparable to Ling Zhao's. They were all heavenly pulse martial artists in the breakthrough period. Zhao, Ji, Zhao Xi, and Ing Wuya were slightly inferior. Their cultivation had reached the level of heavenly pulse martial artists in the growth period. In addition, Lan Yu had broken through to the one-line heaven realm, surpassing Ling Xiao, whose cultivation had regressed. Haim Mian Ko was more vigorous. She was already at the pinnacle of the yin and yang heavenly realm, not far from the 3 talents realm. Got it. With Ling Xiao as their backbone, they no longer hesitated and took action. Among the guards on the 1st floor of the Phoenix Academy, the strongest were heavenly pulse martial artists in the breakthrough period. They couldn't stop the 6 people at all and were defeated one after another. Only then did everyone realize that out of the 10 single rooms, 8 of them were actually empty. The Phoenix Academy was occupying the latrine, but not taking a shit. Why didn't they use the private rooms to cultivate? Ling Xiao asked, puzzled. Although the cultivation room's effect isn't as good as the private rooms, it's free. On the other hand, you have to pay for the private rooms. The fee for the 1st floor is 100 low-grade spiritual stones per day. Many people think it's too expensive, so they don't want to use it. Feng, Yanran explained. Hearing this, Ling Xiao cursed. No wonder. These Phoenix Academy martial artists are really disgusting. They don't have the money to cultivate, but they don't let others cultivate. They really deserve a beating. Chapter 905. Ling Xiao looked at the 6 people on his side and said, You 6 go in. If you don't have enough spirit stones, I'll pay for it. First, I'll lend you 3,000 low-grade spirit stones each. It's enough for you to cultivate for a month. Remember, you have to pay it back. Definitely. Dai Yuling, Lung Hao, and the others excitedly took the spirit stones and entered the cultivation room. They were not pretentious at all. Low-grade spirit stones were nothing to them now. As long as they completed the tasks assigned by the academy, they could easily earn them back. It was just that they were pressed for time and didn't have time to spare. Since Ling Xiao had extra spirit stones, he could lend them to them. He didn't need to worry about them not being able to pay it back. Let's go to the 2nd floor. After watching Dai Yuling and the others enter the cultivation room, Ling Xiao lifted his foot and walked to the 2nd floor. Feng, Yanran, still hadn't recovered from the shock. Weren't the warriors of the Sky Dragon continent very poor? What's wrong with this Ling Xiao? How could he have so many spirit stones? 3,000 low-grade spirit stones for each person. 6 people would be 18,000 low-grade spirit stones for each person. Miss Yanran, aren't you going? Lan Yu turned around and shouted, waking Feng Yanran from her shock. She hurriedly followed. The strongest guard on the 2nd floor was a warrior at the peak of the one-line sky. Lan Yuer snatched a cultivation room and then entered it to cultivate. The single rooms on the 2nd floor cost 1,000 low-grade spirit stones per day, and the large cultivation room also had to be charged, but the charge was relatively low, only 100 low-grade spirit stones per person per day. Lan Yuer was relatively rich, so she didn't lend it to Ling Xiao. Continue. Ling Xiao's ideal cultivation room should be on the 3rd floor. However, it wasn't easy to enter that place to cultivate. When the three of them arrived at the third floor, they saw three people in the middle of the road, sitting cross-legged and cultivating. The cultivation of these three people had all reached the sky of yin and yang. The one in the middle, wearing a red robe, was at the late stage of yin and yang. The two on the side were at the early stage of yin and yang. These three people have reached such a level of cultivation. Are they really willing to be Divine Phoenix Academy's roadblock? Ling Xiao asked in surprise. Their guards should be on a rotational basis. If cultivators with such cultivation were to stay outside all the time, they would be at a disadvantage. Phone, Yanran explained. No wonder. Ling Xiao nodded and continued to walk forward. Stop. Can't you see that we're cultivating? Why aren't you scramming? The red-clothed man suddenly opened his mouth and stared coldly at Ling Xiao. His words were extremely impolite. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, Of course I know you are cultivating. I just want to pass by. As he spoke, he continued to walk forward, completely ignoring the three men's murderous gazes. Didn't you hear me tell you to get lost? A mere heaven-vain martial artist wants to enter the third level to cultivate? Why don't you take a piss and see if you're qualified? The red-clothed man was furious. If a martial artist of the same cultivation didn't give him face, he could understand. However, Ling Xiao, a heaven-vain martial artist, dared to treat him like this, which made him very unhappy. Senior brother, don't be angry. With the three of us here, how can a mere heaven-vain martial artist pass by? Unless he grows wings and flies over our heads. The Phoenix Academy martial artist next to him advised. That's true. The red-clothed cultivator sneered. He looked at Ling Xiao and said, Brat, I'll give you a chance. If you can get past the three of us, you can enter the great cultivation room to cultivate. Idiot. Ling Xiao looked at the martial artist in red with disdain. If this person was a martial artist in the three talents heaven realm, he might be afraid. However, he did not care about a mere martial artist in the two elements heaven realm. With his soul power and mountain river martial soul, he could make this guy scram in an instant. What are you? Just as the red-clothed martial artist finished speaking, a light suddenly flashed over his head. Ling Xiao, who was standing in front of them, was now behind them. What? The red-clothed martial artist's face was as gloomy as ash. He was a dignified heaven-vain martial artist at the late stage of the heaven vein of two elements guarding here. How could someone pass through? This was simply a disgrace. Get rid of him. The red-clothed martial artist shouted to the person next to him. Yes, senior brother. The person next to him was at the early stage of the heaven vein of two elements. He didn't take Ling Xiao seriously at all. Like a snake, he leaped behind Ling Xiao in an instant. Then he pressed his palm against the back of Ling Xiao's heart. Hee, Qingshu College's disciple, you really don't know what's good for you. I'll teach you a lesson first. No one was allowed to kill near the Heaven Essence Pagoda. This rule was set by the royal family, so this person didn't dare to be ruthless. He just wanted to injure Ling Xiao. It was all thanks to this rule. Otherwise, he would have been a corpse in the next moment. Are you tickling me? A cold and disdainful voice rang out. The Phoenix Academy's heaven vein of two elements martial artist felt a terrible rebounding force coming from his palm. Then his whole body flew out and fell heavily to the bottom of the pagoda. My hand! The martial artist who fell to the ground didn't die, but he found that his right hand had been burned black. Terrifying! This was not the first time that Feng Yanran had seen Ling Xiao fight. But every time, Ling Xiao's performance surprised her. That was a martial artist at the early stage of the heaven vein of two elements. Ling Xiao didn't even need to make a move. He used his defensive martial arts to send his opponent flying and even burned his opponent's hand. This guy is really strong. No wonder our vice dean personally brought him into the academy. Some Qingshu College students with heaven vein of 2 elements cultivation sat around the 3rd floor of the Heaven Essence Pagoda. Although they weren't weak, they had only won a chance to practice in the pagoda's corridor. There were no empty cultivation rooms on the 3rd floor. This was because when one's cultivation reached the heaven vein of 2 elements, they didn't lack spirit stones. They couldn't enter the big cultivation room, so they could only stay in the corridor and practice. The martial artist in red's pupils shrank suddenly as he stared at Ling Xiao's back. He was sure that it wasn't an illusion. This guy's back was actually glowing like the sun. He didn't even get close to it, but it made him feel fearful. Although this guy was a heaven vein martial artist, his strength wasn't as bad as his cultivation. How on earth did he practice? You were the one who shouted the loudest just now. Why are you mute now? Ling Xiao looked back at the martial artist in red and said coldly, "If you don't have that kind of ability, don't try to act tough. You'll get yourself killed." He didn't intend to continue fighting. Cultivation was the key. There was a time display outside each cultivation room, which was similar to a sundial. He could see how long it would take for the people in the 10 cultivation rooms to come out. He found that 4 of the cultivation rooms could be vacated within an hour, and one of them only had a few minutes left. So he planned to wait. Chapter 906. It was still too early for Ling Xiao to reach the 4th floor, so there was no need for him to do so. People had to be confident, but they also had to know their own limits. Only then could they live longer and cultivate better. Even though he didn't want to provoke others, there were always some reckless people who wanted to provoke him. The martial artist in red didn't want to be humiliated like this. It was fine that Ling Xiao had surpassed him, but someone had actually injured his fellow disciple in front of him. How could he tolerate this? Of course, the most important thing was that he was a disciple of Phoenix Academy, and the other party was a disciple of Qingshu College. They had always been competitors. They could even be enemies. Boom! The more he thought about it, the more unhappy he felt. A ball of crimson flame suddenly ignited behind the man in red. This was a martial artist from the Heavenly Dragon continent who had a fire-type martial soul. Moreover, this guy's martial soul wasn't ordinary fire, but a special kind of martial soul called lava fire. Although it couldn't compare to the 12 sacred flames, it was much stronger than ordinary fire. Coupled with his late-stage yin and yang cultivation, there was no problem for him to dominate the 3rd floor. Originally, Ling Xiao didn't want to act rashly if this martial artist in red had other martial souls, because to deal with this person, even if he could win, he would have to expose many tricks. After all, his opponent's cultivation was really strong. His martial soul wasn't ordinary either. He wanted to let Haim Miankeo deal with him, but now he planned to do it himself, because his opponent actually had a fire-type martial soul. Although Ling Xiao's Hell Dragon fire was sealed, the heat from the inheritance of light was comparable to the sun's sacred fire, far stronger than the lava fire. If he couldn't deal with his opponent under the suppression of his martial soul, Ling Xiao felt that he wouldn't have the face to continue staying here. At that moment, his body was surrounded by a dazzling light. The surrounding temperature suddenly rose and then spread in all directions. The originally narrow pagoda corridor's temperature also rose greatly. Many people were sweating profusely, and some even showed signs of dehydration. A mere lava fire martial soul is really nothing. Ling Xiao released an extremely high temperature as he slowly walked towards the red-clothed man. The scorching heat seemed to have materialized, causing the air to distort and distort. Streams of heat rushed towards the red-clothed man, and Ling Xiao's surroundings had become a world of high temperature, causing people to be unable to avoid it. Feng Yanran, who was standing not far away, was even more shocked. She felt like a moth flying into a flame. Her body had been burned by the flame and was constantly melting. An unprecedented sense of fear continued to rise. Haim Miankeo, do you know what martial soul this is? She felt her voice tremble. This isn't a martial spirit. Strictly speaking, this is just an ability of his martial spirit. You haven't fought with Ling Xiao before. If you have, you'll understand that this guy's strength is so strong that it's suffocating. This was not the first time Haim Myung-ko had seen Ling Xiao deal with an enemy in such a manner, but every time she felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. How could a martial artist release a scorching heat like the sun? How did he do it? The red-clothed martial artist felt the terrifying heat coming from Ling Xiao's body. His entire body was sweating profusely. The kind of high temperature caused the martial spirit behind him to tremble. It was trembling in fear. It was the fear of a weak person towards a strong person. The flame martial spirit's damage was nothing more than relying on high temperature. But at the same temperature, Ling Xiao's mountain river martial spirit's light profound was more powerful and of a higher level. This completely suppressed the temperature of the flame martial spirit. It was just like how the Lion King could make the weak Lion King tremble. Ling Xiao naturally understood his own Scarlet Sun power very well. It benefited from the light profound in the light and shadow profound. It was because he could suppress his opponent that he used it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made a move. Light and shadow sword art, Scarlet Sun power. Suddenly, a sword appeared in Ling Xiao's hand, and he stabbed out with it. The terrifying sword Qi contained the scorching Scarlet Sun power. Streaks of Scarlet Sun power were like vicious rays of Scarlet Sun power that could pierce through a human body in an instant. Lava dragon roar. The red-clothed martial artist panicked. The martial spirit behind him surged and turned into a divine dragon that pounced out and merged with his fists. Although this lava divine dragon was not very long, its terrifyingly high temperature was not inferior to the blazing lava at all. The lava divine dragon opened its huge mouth and swallowed the terrifying sword Qi. You can't block it. Ling Xiao sneered. The sword Qi, combined with the sword essence, was so sharp that it sent chills down one's spine. The Scarlet Sun, combined with the Mountain River Will, was so terrifying that it made one's reaction slow. The combination of the Scarlet Sun and the sword Qi produced an even more powerful attack. At this moment, the red-clothed martial artist felt as if his body had been thrown directly into the scorching sun. It also felt as if there were tens of thousands of sharp steel needles piercing his body. His body was trembling and his soul was crying. He felt as if he had sunk into hell. No, impossible. You're only a heaven pulse martial artist. How can you have such a terrifying combat strength? What kind of martial spirit is this? The red-clothed martial artist's mind was in a mess. Until now, he still did not know what his opponent's martial spirit was. He still did not know how his opponent could have such a terrifying combat strength, even though he was only a heaven pulse martial artist. He felt that his body and soul could be directly burned and melted at any time. I'll spare your dog life. Don't ever let me see you again. Scram! A cold voice rang in the red-clothed martial artist's ears. Then the red-clothed martial artist's body was blasted away. There was no blood. It was because that terrifying wound was actually completely charred, and it looked extremely horrifying. Cough, cough! The red-clothed martial artist knelt on the ground with one knee. He stared at Ling Xiao in horror and anger. You dare to attack me? You dare to attack a disciple of the Phoenix Academy? Ling Xiao had heard such words too many times. He was tired of it. Scram! With a cold shout, Ling Xiao kicked him directly from the third floor to the bottom of the tower. I won't let you go. Hysterical screams came from the bottom of the tower. Ling Xiao just smiled disdainfully. The villains in the books he had read seemed to like this. However, those villains did not seem to have succeeded in their revenge. Instead, they became more and more miserable. Feng Yanran and the other disciples of the Qingshu College were stunned. This guy was too monstrous. Without showing his martial spirit, he could restrain his opponent's special martial spirit with martial arts alone. Moreover, he could release the sword essence that only a few people could comprehend. How did this guy cultivate? Haim Miankeo also shook her head and smiled bitterly. These people had not seen Ling Xiao's performance in the martial arts festival. Otherwise, they would be even more shocked. In front of this monstrous guy, the other so-called geniuses were not worth mentioning. Chapter 907. What is your martial soul? Is it the mountain river martial soul? Haim Miankeo was shocked by her own thoughts. A big shock. For more than 100,000 years, only the human king had possessed the mountain river martial soul. After that, the mountain river martial soul had never appeared again. Ling Xiao had nothing to do with the human king. How could he have obtained such a powerful martial soul? That's not possible. Haim Miankeo shook her head and quickly dismissed her own thoughts. Perhaps this was a kind of self-deceiving thinking. After all, deep in her heart, she wanted to catch up with Ling Xiao as soon as possible. If Ling Xiao really did possess the mountain river martial soul, then she would have no chance at all. Now, at least there was still a glimmer of hope. How awe-inspiring! A mere student of Qingshu College dares to cause trouble on the 3rd floor occupied by our Phoenix Academy. Just as everyone was in a state of shock, for single rooms were opened in succession, and 4 people walked out from them. Ling Xiao was surprised to find that 2 of them were Mo Wushang and Qin Bixue. He didn't recognize the other 2, but they were both at the peak of yin-yang heaven. Too much nonsense. Get out. This time, before Ling Xiao could say anything, Haim Miankeo rushed out. With just 2 moves, the 2 martial artists at the peak of yin-yang heaven were stabbed down from the pagoda. Haim Miankeo was already at the peak of yin-yang heaven. With the help of the Tianji martial soul and the heavenly king scripture, she was still inferior to Ling Xiao, but among the geniuses, she was one of the best. Not to mention dealing with ordinary martial artists. You too, do you want me to ask you to get out? Haim Miankeo glared at Mo Wushang and Qin Bixue as she finished off the 2 martial artists at the peak of yin-yang heaven with 2 moves. If it weren't for the rules here, she would have killed them both with 1 move each. Go! Mo Wushang and Qin Bixue ended their cultivation because they ran out of spirit stones. They were planning to go out and get some more before coming back. However, they did not expect to meet Ling Xiao and Haim Miankeo. What made them even more speechless was that the 2 celestial yin-yang peak martial artists from the Phoenix Academy couldn't even withstand a single blow from Haim Miankeo. Since he was so useless, what was the point of being arrogant? Can't he just tuck his tail between his legs and behave himself? Both of them were smart people. They knew that they could not afford to offend Ling Xiao and Haim Miankeo, so they could only choose to escape in a hurry. Do you guys want to enter the cultivation room to cultivate? Since Ling Xiao had entered the Qingshu Academy, he owed the vice principal, Feng Qingyan, a favor. Therefore, he had always wanted to return it. Today was an opportunity. In any case, Phoenix Academy was a tyrannical school where the strong preyed on the weak. They did not give Qingshu College any chance at all. Then, he would be even more domineering. Of course! The disciples of Qingshu College shouted one after another. Whoever wants to enter the cultivation room to cultivate, join us and chase all the disciples of Phoenix Academy out. Make them cultivate in this corridor or get lost as far as possible. Ling Xiao continued. Many people fell silent when they heard this. However, after a while, they seemed to recall the previous behavior of Ling Xiao and Haim Miankeo. They gritted their teeth and expressed their willingness. Very well. Let's clean up the cultivation room first. Follow me. Ling Xiao was not a greedy person. He had originally come to the Heaven Essence Pagoda purely to cultivate. However, the martial artists from the Phoenix Academy had completely occupied this floor, and did not give any martial artists from Qingshu College a chance. They had even caused him to make a move. If he was not angry at this time, then he really deserved to be bullied. When Ling Xiao and Haim Miyankeo walked into the cultivation room, what greeted them were disdainful and angry gazes. How did this bastard get in? Doesn't he know that he will affect our cultivation? A heavenly pulse martial artist from Qingshu College? Does this idiot want to cultivate on the 3rd floor? Did those 3 guys go to eat? Why did they let him in? Although I don't know what's going on, this is Phoenix Academy's territory. All the trash from Qingshu College have to get lost. Did you hear that? We asked you to get lost, brat. One sentence after another. There was nothing good about it at all. The martial artists from the Phoenix Academy relied on their superior numbers and strength to treat Ling Xiao and the others as trash that could be bullied. They did not even think that the 3 guards outside had been defeated. They thought that the 3 of them had sneaked away. Ling Xiao's eyebrows slightly wrinkled before a cold and indifferent smile slid past the corners of his mouth. In that instant, a terrifying blazing aura spread throughout the entire great training room, before crazily pouncing towards every single Divine Phoenix Academy practitioner who was in the midst of training. Do it! Ling Xiao, who was releasing a terrifying aura, waved his hand lightly, and the disciples from Qingshu College rushed out while shouting. Originally, with their overall strength, it was impossible for them to defeat the disciples from Phoenix Academy in the cultivation room. After all, the other party had more people, and their overall strength was stronger. However, Ling Xiao used the mountain river will to completely suppress the disciples from Phoenix Academy in the cultivation room. This gave the disciples from Qingshu College a great opportunity. Haim, Miyankeo, and Feng Yanran also made a move. What followed were endless screams of agony. Of course, they did not kill anyone. They only injured all these people and threw them out. In any case, they did the same when the Phoenix Academy rushed to repair the cultivation room, so they did not feel guilty at all. In just a moment, only the disciples from Qingshu College were left in the cultivation room. Okay, you guys can cultivate here. I should also go cultivate. Originally, Ling Xiao wanted to chase out the cultivators in the single rooms as well. However, each single room was protected by a powerful array, and Ling Xiao could not open it, unless the other party used up all their spirit stones. There was no other way. Therefore, he, Haim, Miyankeo, Feng Yanran, and Lan Yu-er, who was called up, occupied the 4 single rooms on the 3rd floor and began to cultivate. As long as enough spirit stones were paid, the dragon-breaking stone in the cultivation room would open and release spirit chi for the martial artists inside to cultivate. The spirit chi here was really rich and mellow. It was much better than the cultivation environment in the Moonlight Pagoda that Ling Xiao used to cultivate. In that instant, he felt refreshed and extremely comfortable. Although martial artists could also produce internal energy, it was still too little. The human body was a precious treasure, but the spirit chi between heaven and earth was easier to absorb and transform. It was much easier than tapping the human body's potential. Above his head, the eye of the world opened, and inscriptions in it kept flashing. Ling Xiao sat down cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. He had only comprehended the first step of the light and shadow profound meaning, and he had the red sun feather coat and the shadow armor. However, from the 2nd step onwards, light and darkness had to be cultivated separately. Although these 2 forces could rely on each other, their advantages were very contradictory. If they cultivated together, it would affect their progress. Although Ling Xiao wanted to improve his cultivation and cultivate the light and shadow profound meaning to the last step, he also understood the principle of more haste, less speed. Everything had to be done step by step. Of course, even if it was done step by step, with the special effect of the mountain river martial soul, his cultivation speed was still much faster than others. Chapter 908. The The heaven and earth spirit chi in the training room continuously flowed into Ling Xiao's body, like water flowing into dry land. Ling Xiao did not reject any of them and accepted them completely. His 9 cauldrons, heavenly veins, were tougher and bigger than any other martial artist's heavenly veins. It was like a bottomless pit that required more energy to upgrade, although day and night still alternated in the mountain river realm. The duration of the day had obviously become longer. This was because Ling Xiao had focused on comprehending the light ultimacy and had temporarily suppressed the shadow ultimacy. Activating the mountain river martial spirit did not require any internal cultivation technique. The heaven and earth spirit chi in the surroundings flowed into the 9 cauldrons, heavenly veins, and was continuously refined before being injected into the mountain river martial spirit. From the outside, Ling Xiao looked like a blazing red sun, illuminating the entire cultivation room with a crimson glow. It should be said that his physical fitness had reached a bottleneck and could not be improved any further, unless he broke through to the heaven realm. Therefore, Ling Xiao did not need to expend any heavenly origin energy on his body. Instead, he used it to break through his heavenly veins so that he could achieve a breakthrough as soon as possible. What he did not know was that the people from the Phoenix Academy had come knocking on his door. The person leading the way was the martial artist in red from before. Mo Wushang and Qin Bixue were also in the group. However, they were not the main characters. The real main character was a martial artist at the peak of the 4 symbols celestial realm. His skin was a strange blood-red color. One look and one could tell that he was not human. Under the guidance of the red-robed martial artist, this group of people arrived at the 3rd floor. Senior brother, look. The disciples of the Phoenix Academy are all injured. They can only cultivate outside the corridor and can't enter. The martial artist in red pointed at the martial artists who were sitting cross-legged in the corridor. Previously, the martial artists here were all from the Qingshu College. Now, they were from the Phoenix Academy. Mo Wushang, Qin Bixue, it's time for the 2 of you to make a contribution. Chase away all the martial artists from the Qingshu College. This time, they're not allowed to stay in the corridor. The red-skinned young man said coldly, "Understood." Mo Wushang and Qin Bixue seemed to be very obedient to this person. As soon as this person gave the order, they rushed into the cultivation room. After being transformed by the true demon's empire, the 2 of them were now at the late-stage Yin and Yang sky realm. They were much stronger than when they had been at the martial path sacrifice. As soon as they attacked, the Qingshu College martial artists in the large cultivation room were no match for them. Most of them were injured and thrown down the pagoda. There were also some people who went berserk because their cultivation was interrupted and almost lost all their martial arts. But things weren't over yet. Staring at the single stone door where Ling Xiao, Haim, Miankeo, and Lan Yu were cultivating, the young man sneered and immediately took out 3 secret scrolls and pasted them on the door. He didn't want to offend Feng Yanran, and he couldn't afford to offend her. Then he activated his heavenly origin energy and muttered something. After a while, the 3 secret scrolls emitted a strange blood-red light, and the 3 cultivation rooms shook violently. Not only that, but the spiritual qi in the cultivation rooms also became chaotic. In Ling Xiao's room, the spiritual qi was chaotic for only a moment before it was suppressed by the powerful mountain river martial spirit. Then it returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. In Haim Miankeo's room, although the spiritual qi was still chaotic, the Tianji martial spirit transformed into a strange pavilion and directly took Haim Miankeo in. Then, the outside environment didn't affect Haim Miankeo, who was cultivating. Only Lan Yu. Ari's situation was a bit troublesome. The entire cultivation room shook as if there was an earthquake. In addition, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was chaotic. She didn't notice and spat out a mouthful of blood. It was a big taboo to be disturbed during cultivation. Therefore, under normal circumstances, there would be someone guarding. However, this was the Heaven Essence Pagoda. According to the rules, no one was allowed to disturb the martial artists in the cultivation rooms. Moreover, ordinary means couldn't affect them. Unexpectedly, the red-skinned young man had a special secret scroll that could interfere with the situation in the cultivation rooms. This was why Lan Yu was injured. Lan Yu's face was a little pale. Fortunately, she was fine. She didn't dare to continue cultivating because the cultivation rooms kept shaking. It was impossible to cultivate even if she wanted to. People of Qingshu College, get out here! Outside the stone door, someone roared. Lan Yu recognized the voice as the Qin Bishue's. Although she was angry, she didn't act impulsively. During the martial arts festival, she wasn't a match for the Qin Bishue. Although she had a breakthrough in her cultivation, it was still not possible for her to be a match for the Qin Bishue. If she went out, it would be worse. Even if she couldn't cultivate, at least she wouldn't be injured if she stayed in the cultivation rooms. The Heaven Essence Pagoda clearly stated that, first, no one was allowed to disturb the martial artists in the cultivation rooms. Second, no one was allowed to kill. However, the other party had broken the first rule, which meant that they didn't care about the rules at all. If she went out now, she might really be at a disadvantage. As the saying goes, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Moreover, she was just a weak woman. There was no need for her to show off. It's definitely not just the Qin Bishue outside. Lan Yu took a healing pill and thought about it while treating her injuries. It must be the martial artists of Phoenix Academy who came to seek revenge. The relationship between the two academies isn't good. If I go out, I'm afraid my life will be in danger. Even if I don't die, I'm afraid I'll be used as a hostage to threaten Ling Xiao. That's not smart. In the mystic world, there was no such thing as reason. In the mystic world, the fist was everything. Strength was the reason. Whoever was stronger would be right. No matter what they did, they would not be punished. Even the rules of the mystic world were set by the strong. The weak were prey to the strong. This was the same in any continent in the mystic world. Are the people of Qingshu College all cowards? Are they hiding their heads and not daring to come out? It's Mo Wushang. They really aren't the same person. Lan Yu frowned. She endured the continuous rumbling sound and continued to treat her injuries. At most, she would cut off her hearing and stop cultivating. She would just treat it as if there was a dog barking outside. She didn't believe that those people would stay outside forever. Anyway, the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda was so strong that it couldn't be destroyed by such shaking. Otherwise, this cultivation room would have been destroyed many times. Blood Skull, you're shameless. At this time, Lan Yu heard Feng Yanran's voice coming from outside. It's Miss Yanran. We didn't come to look for you. We came to look for that arrogant human. A cold voice sneered. No matter who you're looking for, you dare to violate the written rules of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda. You really have guts. Feng Yanran said angrily. Chapter 909. Feng Yanran said angrily, although the disciples of the two academies can fight here, they're not allowed to disturb the warriors who are cultivating in the single rooms. You really don't take the rules of the two academies seriously. As long as Ling Xiao comes out, we won't do anything. But does he dare? He's just a coward. What a joke! This sentence should have been said by the warrior in red. He continued, wasn't he very arrogant before? Why is he hiding in there and not daring to come out? The people outside the stone door saw that there was no movement inside and couldn't help but stare. Idiot! Feng Yanran said disdainfully, you are a warrior at the later stage of Yin and Yang Heaven. You can't even defeat a warrior of Tianmai. You actually asked for help. Are you qualified to say that others are cowards? Then what are you? You're worse than a coward? In fact, the reason why Feng Yanran came out was that she was worried about Ling Xiao's impulsiveness. Although Ling Xiao was very powerful, his cultivation was not enough. It would be fine if he was only dealing with the warrior in red. The key was that there was more than one person here, especially the Blood Skull. He was a disciple of the elite class of the Phoenix Academy. He used to be in the top 10. Although his ranking had dropped because of the addition of some masters, he was still in the top 20. Ling Xiao was definitely not his opponent. At this moment, seeing that Ling Xiao did not move, although she did not know why this guy suddenly became quiet, Feng Yanran was really relieved. Of course, she didn't know that Ling Xiao was completely immersed in the universe, built by the mountain and river martial spirit. He didn't know anything about the outside world. Feng Yanran, I didn't touch you because of the Crown Prince, Feng Yinshan. Don't be so shameless. The Blood Skull said coldly, if I want to deal with someone, he won't be able to escape. Mo Wushang, Qin Bishue, and you trash, you three stay here. If there's any movement, inform me immediately. Hearing this, Mo Wushang and the other two didn't look good. They were well aware of how terrifying Ling Xiao was. The only reason they dared to come here today was because of the Blood Skull's strength. If the Blood Skull left, they wouldn't dare to provoke Ling Xiao even if they had 10 times the courage. You're actually afraid of a Heaven Vein martial artist? The Blood Skull's face was extremely gloomy. Senior brother, that boy is a little strange. Although he is only a celestial pulse warrior, his strength is no less than that of a 3 talents heaven cultivation. What's more, he has a woman at the peak of Yin and Yang heaven cultivation beside him. The red-clothed martial artist gritted his teeth and decided to tell the truth. Trash! The Blood Skull didn't believe his words at all. What kind of person could defeat a warrior at the later stage of Yin and Yang heaven when he was only a warrior with the cultivation of Tianmai? Senior brother Shui, you are at the critical juncture of your breakthrough. You should go back and cultivate. Leave this to me. At this moment, one of the single rooms on the 3rd floor opened, and a man in white walked out. Duan Yun. That's me. The man in white cupped his hands and smiled. Good, good. I didn't expect you to break through to the middle stage of the 3 talents heaven cultivation realm. With you here, I'm relieved. The Blood Skull laughed. The 3 of you stay with Duan Yin. With him here, that boy won't be able to overturn the heavens. After saying this, the Blood Skull turned into a cloud of blood mist and went down the pagoda. Within the blood mist, one could faintly see a terrifying skull. When the Blood Skull left, he didn't take down the secret scroll that was stuck on the dragon-breaking stone. Feng Yanran tried to take it down, but she was stopped by Duan Yin. With Feng Yanran's strength, it was impossible for her to take down the secret scroll under Duan Yin's obstruction. Therefore, she could only helplessly watch the 3 cultivation rooms with the secret scroll constantly shaking. She could only pray that the 3 people inside would be fine. Lan Yu, who was in the cultivation room, spent an entire month in torment. Although she wasn't injured, she was constantly harassed and couldn't do anything for a month. Even her pretty face had become pale and bloodless. It's been a month. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on much longer. Lan Yu smiled bitterly. She had only brought a month's worth of food. After eating, she could only starve. If she had no other choice, she could only take the risk and try to rush out. Dying in battle was better than dying of hunger. In another cultivation room, Ling Xiao finally broke through the shackles and raised his cultivation to the middle stage of the one-line heaven cultivation realm. After advancing to the sky realm, the mountain river world didn't undergo any drastic changes this time. However, the spirit chi and the light and shadow mysteries contained within had obviously improved greatly. Not only that, but Ling Xiao's light mysteries had also reached the 2nd step. The 2nd step of the light mysteries was the condensation of the Scarlet Sun All. The 1st step was the Scarlet Sun Feather Coat, which was used for defense. The 2nd step was the Scarlet Sun All, which was used for attack. As for the shadow mysteries, he was still stuck at the 1st step the shadow armor. He had yet to comprehend the second step. The light and shadow mysteries were the essence that Ling Xiao had extracted from the light inheritance in the cauldron of light. He had to comprehend both the light and shadow mysteries simultaneously. Therefore, the next step was naturally to comprehend the second step of the shadow mysteries. At this time, more than a month had passed. Ling Xiao felt that it was time to go out. According to his previous experience, after his cultivation had increased, he had to temper himself. He had to completely consolidate this stage before continuing to cultivate. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to display the strength of this cultivation, but his cultivation might also regress after being injured. Therefore, today his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the one-line heaven cultivation realm. This was a breakthrough of a super realm. He had to properly temper himself. At the same time, under the torture of hunger and harassment, Lan Yu finally couldn't help but open the dragon-breaking stone. Outside the dragon-breaking stone, the red-robed martial artist's face revealed a sinister sneer. He knew that the one behind this door wasn't Ling Xiao, but a martial artist called Lan Yu. This woman's strength was only in the one-line heaven cultivation realm. She wasn't as difficult to deal with as Ling Xiao. Therefore, even without Duan Yun's help, he could ruthlessly ravage this woman. He really wanted to see if Ling Xiao would go crazy from anger when he came out and saw his friend in such a pitiful state. Of course, if he were alone, he would probably be afraid of Ling Xiao's revenge. However, now that Duan Yun was here, and he had the support of the Blood Skull, even if Ling Xiao wanted to take revenge, he wasn't afraid. He had already become unscrupulous. The red-robed martial artist was even prepared to launch a sneak attack the moment the other party came out, seriously injuring her. As long as she was seriously injured, even if she was a lion, she would have to obediently be manipulated. Stop! The moment the red-robed martial artist attacked, Feng Yanran made her move. She hadn't returned to the cultivation room to cultivate because she was worried that Ling Xiao would be attacked. Now that she saw the red-robed martial artist attacking Lan Yu, she naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. Chapter 9-10. Bang! After exchanging blows with Feng Yanran, the red-clothed martial artist retreated a few steps. It was obvious that his strength was much weaker than Feng Yanran's. Lan Yu finally walked out. Her face was as white as a sheet of paper. The situation wasn't good. Thank you, Miss Yanran. Lan Yu naturally knew that Feng Yanran had blocked the attack for her. Otherwise, even if she wasn't seriously injured, she would have suffered a blow. You're welcome. However, things are a little troublesome now. I didn't expect the people of the Phoenix Academy to ignore the rules. Feng Yanran frowned and said, during this period of time, she had asked for help from the disciples of the Qingshu Academy. Of course, they were from the higher-level disciples. However, when they saw that she was fine, they all refused to help. The reason was that, according to the rules, higher-level martial artists couldn't interfere with the fights of lower-level martial artists. The Blood Skull had broken the rules and would definitely be punished. However, they didn't want to. They didn't know Ling Xiao and the others. There was no need for them to break the rules and get themselves into trouble for Ling Xiao and the others, unless Feng Yanran was attacked or injured. However, the disciples of the Phoenix Academy didn't dare to hurt Feng Yanran. Miss Yanran, I advise you not to interfere. Duan Yin said with a smile, if you interfere, I will attack. If you hurt this beautiful girl, don't blame me for being ruthless. Feng Yanran had no choice but to dodge. She knew how powerful Duan Yin was. If the red-clothed martial artist attacked her, she still had a chance to escape. However, if Duan Yin attacked, she would have no chance. I didn't expect the people of the Phoenix Academy to be so shameless. If I had known, I would have attacked more ruthlessly. Another voice sounded. Haim, Mian Ko, came out of the single room. After a month, her cultivation had reached the middle stage of the 3 talents heaven realm. Her aura had improved significantly, and she had even comprehended sword intent. Although it was only the first level of sword intent, which was still far from Ling Zhao's, she was still much stronger than before she went into seclusion. There were 9 levels of sword intent at the entry level. Above the entry level was sword intent. Why aren't you affected? The red-clothed martial artist was stunned. He had been expecting Haim Myung-ko to be as weak as Lan Yu. But the reality wasn't so. Not only was Haim Myung-ko not weak at all, but her cultivation had also improved greatly. Her strength had also improved at an astonishing rate. Previously, Ling Xiao spared your life, but you didn't know how to be grateful. You even dared to do such a despicable thing. It seems like you've gone crazy from wanting to die. Haim Myung-ko was very clear that Ling Xiao had been merciful before. If he had been a little more vicious, this red-clothed martial artist would have been crippled. Furthermore, the other Phoenix Academy martial artists in the other single rooms could forget about cultivating in peace. When it came to practical secret technique scrolls and magic arrays, Ling Xiao was many times better than the Blood Skull. The only reason he hadn't done so was because he didn't want to break the rules of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Tower. However, from the looks of it now, these rules were only made for honest people. Truly evil people would not care about these things at all. What a joke! With me around, do you think you can kill him? Duan Yin looked at Haim Myung-ko and laughed. You, on the other hand, look pretty good and have some strength. Why don't you follow me? I can introduce you to the Phoenix Academy. It's better than following behind a Heaven Pulse martial artist. You're not worthy, Haim Myung-ko said indifferently. Compared to him, you're just a rat in a smelly ditch. You what? Duan Yin's originally calm face was now filled with anger. He had always prided himself on being handsome and confident. He could basically get any woman he wanted, especially female martial artists from the Heavenly Dragon Continent. If their cultivation was lower than his, he only needed to give them a look and they would throw themselves into his arms. However, this Haim Myung-ko before him actually dared to not give him any face. I'm just a rat in a smelly ditch, Haim Myung-ko repeated without fear. Hee. This Duan likes hot wild horses like you. You're the type that makes conquering you even more enjoyable. Duan Yin suddenly revealed a lustful and evil smile. Although I don't know what kind of relationship you have with that Ling Xiao, I'm sure that after I'm done with you, that guy will definitely go crazy. Hee. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Mo Wushang and Qin Bishue, who were standing to the side, shook their heads. The former Holy Sun, the high and mighty Holy Sun, was now being molested by such a lecher. It was truly too sad. The two of them had once had improper thoughts about the Holy Sun. However, in their hearts, they thought highly of the Holy Sun, Haim Myung-ko. Duan Yin, you're too disgusting. The Blood Skull is not a good person to associate with someone like you. Feng Yanran frowned and scolded. The love between a man and a woman is the way of nature. How is it disgusting? Duan Yin said disdainfully. Miss Yanran, compared to Haim Myung-ko, you're much less beautiful. Therefore, this Duan has no interest in you. Ha! Although he didn't dare to hurt Feng Yanran, he still dared to insult her verbally. Haim Myung-ko coldly looked at Duan Yin. Her originally rosy and pretty face had turned ashen. You're dead today. She had always been overbearing and arrogant. Although she had lost to Ling Xiao and was saved by Ling Xiao, she had restrained herself a lot. However, when facing others, she wouldn't give them a good face. Senior Brother Duan, I'll have to trouble you to deal with that woman. She's also quite beautiful. Ling Xiao really has good luck with women. I'll also have a taste. Duan Yin's words aroused the desire in the red-clothed cultivator's heart. Looking at Lan Yu, Er's haggard, yet pitiful face, he couldn't help but lick his chapped lips. His eyes were filled with excitement. "Even if I die, I won't let you have your way." Although Lan Yu was very weak now, she still had the ability to commit suicide. In this world, chastity was more important than life for many women. "Die. I'll definitely let you have it. It's definitely better than that guy's job." The red-clothed cultivator revealed a beastly expression and laughed. "That guy wants to continue being a coward? Then let him hear your beautiful voice." However, his laughter came to an abrupt end at this moment, because Ling Xiao's single room, the dragon-snapping stone, had opened. The terrifying killing intent seemed to have turned into a substance as it spread out, firmly entangling the red-robed martial artist. This caused Duan Yun's expression to change. His hand was too slow, and Haim Myung-keo cut off one of his fingers. It was so painful that his forehead was covered in cold sweat. When the red-clothed cultivator saw this scene, he was so frightened that his whole body trembled. That bone-chilling killing intent seemed to grab hold of his soul. He didn't dare to act rashly. He ran behind Duan Yun and Mo Wuxian and Qin Bishiwet as if he was running for his life. However, that terrifying killing intent didn't lessen in the slightest. Ling Xiao's gaze seemed to be able to penetrate a person's body. It was like a sharp sword that pierced into the red-clothed cultivator's body. That gaze was like examining a dead person. Chapter 911. After a while, Ling Xiao withdrew his murderous gaze. The martialist in red gasped for breath and realized that his clothes were completely soaked. Ling Xiao didn't look at him again. Instead, he walked over and handed Lan Yu a pill. "Senior sister, I'm sorry for being late." Duan Yin stood there, feeling as if he had been completely ignored. He had always been very confident. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suggested to the Blood Skull that he should stay here and guard Ling Xiao. The more confident and prideful a person was, the more they couldn't tolerate being ignored. Compared to the martialist in red, Duan Yin wanted to let Ling Xiao have a taste of his power. However, the waves of pain coming from his finger forced him to hurry up and treat his injury. It seemed like he had only lost a finger. However, Haim Myung-keo's sword intent was not to be underestimated. If he didn't expel it immediately, it would be very troublesome. Lan Yu fell into Ling Xiao's arms and shook her head weakly. "You're not late. Just in time." At this moment, she only felt warmth and sweetness. She was very lucky to have someone she could rely on. Ling Xiao gently tidied up Lan Yu's messy hair. Then he circulated his heavenly yuan energy to repair her dry meridians. Lan Yu hadn't been able to absorb spirit energy from the outside world for the past month. Therefore, her meridians had withered and even shrunk a little. If it wasn't dealt with in time, it would affect her future cultivation. "This happened because of me. Senior sister, you suffered because of me. I can only blame myself for being too merciful." Ling Xiao regretted it very much. Back then, he had only injured the martialist in red and chased him away. He hadn't crippled his cultivation or killed him. He had thought that the martialist would at least restrain himself. However, he hadn't expected that the martialist would be so shameless that he wouldn't hesitate to break the rules of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda to take revenge on them. If it had been an honorable revenge, Duan Yin would have been able to accept it. However, he couldn't accept such a despicable act of interfering with someone else's cultivation. Moreover, the martialist had hurt the senior sister who had treated him the best. If he hadn't met Lan Yu, or when he was in Yuehua school, his future would have been even more difficult. Lan Yu's body was slightly trembling, but it wasn't because she was afraid. Instead, she was excited and touched. Ever since Ling Xiao confirmed his relationship with the Moon Lady, she had automatically withdrawn from the relationship. She didn't want to become a despicable third party. However, although she had withdrawn, the feelings she had for Ling Xiao had only been hidden. They had not disappeared. At this moment, feeling the other party's gentleness, she actually felt a little choked up. Miss Yenran Minkong, please help me take care of senior Sister Lan. I need to clean up the trash. Seeing Lan Yu, Ai's face gradually become rosy, Ling Xiao slowly got up and turned to the other two girls. No problem. Phone, Yenran hurriedly supported Lan Yu. However, Myung Ko frowned and said, that Duan is at the middle stage of 3 talents heaven. Not to mention, there are 3 other guys here who are at the late stage of Yin Yang heaven. Can you do it? How do you know if you don't try? Ling Xiao's cultivation had just broken through, and his light profound had reached the 2nd step. Without trying, he didn't know how strong he was. You're crazy. Myung Ko looked at Ling Xiao helplessly, then stood aside and said, leave Duan Yun's life to me. I want to kill him with my own hands. Duan Yun had humiliated her in every possible way. If Ling Xiao hadn't suddenly appeared, he would have succeeded. For Myung Ko, who valued her chastity, such a person must die. Moreover, she wanted to kill him with her own hands. No problem. Ling Xiao turned to look at Mo Wushang, Qin Bishue, the martial artist in red, and Duan Yun. He said indifferently, I haven't been in the Divine Phoenix continent for long. I didn't want to kill anyone, but you guys just had to provoke me. I'll give you one last chance. Destroy your own cultivation and get lost. Otherwise, the 4 of you will be the first people I kill after coming to the Divine Phoenix continent. No, you guys don't deserve to be called humans. This guy is not easy to deal with. Duan Yun finally knew that the martial artist in red wasn't bluffing. The human martial artist in front of him didn't seem to have a high cultivation, but he emitted an aura that made people fear him. His cultivation wasn't strong, but his overall strength was terrifying. Duan Yin took a deep breath and took out a weapon that he hadn't used before. A fan. An immortal artifact, level fan. Of course, he couldn't destroy his own cultivation. It was a long and arduous process to reach the middle stage of 3 talents heaven. If he destroyed his own cultivation, it would be difficult for him to catch up with his peers. Of course, he didn't want to die, so he had to take action. The 4 of us will work together and kill him, Duan Yin said coldly. Mo Wushang, Qin Bishue, you guys are afraid of him. However, if you dare to escape today, you won't be able to escape death when you return to the Phoenix Academy. You can choose whether you want to deal with this guy with me, or choose to escape. Ling Xiao touched his storage ring lightly, and the purple flash sword appeared in his hand. The purple light flickered, and it was quite dazzling. An immortal artifact could only be used by a Heaven Realm martial artist to display a stronger combat strength and effect. The current purple flash sword was much more terrifying than it had ever been before. Duan Yin really wanted to kill. Otherwise, he wouldn't have drawn his sword. Mo Wushang and Qin Bishue looked at each other and finally chose to stay. Just as Duan Yin said, if they dared to escape today, they would also die, and their deaths would be even more miserable. When the martial artist in red saw this, he was overjoyed. Ling Xiao, I want to see if you die first, or if I die first. The man's arrogant appearance was really asking for a beating. He had been hiding behind Duan Yin, not daring to make a sound. Now that he saw the 3 of them working together, he immediately became arrogant. He probably thought that if the 4 of them worked together, killing Ling Xiao would be a piece of cake. The martial artists of the Phoenix Academy are all good-for-nothings who bully others with numbers. Phone, Yenran said coldly. Although her words weren't pleasant to hear, they were also somewhat absolute. Duan Yin and the others couldn't refute her words. At this moment, any one of them would be in danger if they were to face Ling Xiao alone. Only when the 4 of them worked together would they have a chance of winning. TSK, 3 martial artists in the late stage of the sky of 2 elements and 1 martial artist in the middle stage of the 3 talents realm are working together just to deal with a heaven pulse martial artist. You guys have really embarrassed the Phoenix Academy. Haim Miankeo sneered. Don't care about them. Just kill that guy. Duan Yin didn't care about his reputation. He only knew that they were in a dangerous situation, and the four of them had to work together. Ling Xiao didn't say anything. He just slowly pointed the purple flash sword in his hand at the four of them and said, "Since you guys have given up on your last hope of survival, don't blame me." Chapter 9:12. Stop bluffing. I admit that you are very strong. Even a mid-stage, 3 talents martialist like me can feel the threat of death. However, you are courting death by fighting 4 of us alone. Duan Yin didn't want to lower the morale of his men, so he naturally had to do this. Ling Xiao didn't say anything else. He took a step forward and released his sword will. The terrifying sword intent was mixed with a bloody aura. In an instant, Duan Yin felt as if he was standing on a battlefield littered with corpses. What a guy! You actually have a complete sword intent. No wonder a mere heaven pulse, martialist like you, is so strong. Even I feel threatened by you. Duan Yin was experienced and knowledgeable, so he could see the seamless and terrifying sword intent around Ling Xiao's body. This sword intent made Ling Xiao seem as if he had turned into a sharp blade and stabbed at Duan Yin. Looks like the blood skull really has to look up to him. Duan Yin sighed. Originally, this matter had nothing to do with him. However, he had taken the initiative to curry favor with the blood skull. He had thought that he would be able to deal with this easily. However, he hadn't expected that his opponent would be a swordsman who had grasped complete sword intent. Strictly speaking, a swordsman without complete sword intent wasn't worthy of being called a swordsman. They could only be considered a martialist who used the sword. The difference in attack power between the two was too great. The difference in sword technique attainment was also not small. Damn it! How can I not block a heaven pulse martialist? As Ling Xiao's sword drew closer and closer to him, the fear in Duan Yin's heart grew stronger. Something was wrong. Duan Yin suddenly sensed the sudden increase in Ling Xiao's aura. This wasn't a heaven pulse martialist. This was a heaven pulse martialist. A heaven pulse martialist who had grasped complete sword intent. Even if he was only a mid-stage, one-line sky martialist, his terrifying killing power was still not something an ordinary martialist could withstand. Die. Ling Xiao's figure suddenly disappeared. At that moment, Duan Yin's heart turned completely cold. During a battle, the scariest thing was for an opponent to suddenly disappear. That sense of crisis was simply fatal. Shadow armor. Ling Xiao had never used this move ever since he comprehended the shadow armor. Today could be considered as a test. Ling Xiao's figure suddenly disappeared from a mere 2 to 3 meters away. Even Duan Yin was only able to protect his vitals in time. In the next moment, a dazzling sword light appeared on his body. The blazing sword qi directly pierced through the immortal grade treasure in his hand. This is impossible. Even if Duan Yin was beaten to death, he would not believe that the sword in his opponent's hand could easily pierce through his fan, even though they were both celestial grade artifacts. In the end, weapons are just external objects. True power comes from one's own strength. Ling Xiao's cold voice resounded in Duan Yin's ears. The same immortal grade artifacts would naturally have different effects in the hands of different people. Unfortunately, it was still too late for Duan Yin to understand this principle. The ice-cold blade contained blazing heat. He could feel that his heart was rapidly shrinking. I almost forgot that his life is yours. Ling Xiao kicked Duan Yin toward Haim Miankeo while he was still breathing. Thanks. Haim Miankeo's sword flew up and chopped off Duan Yin's head. Only then did the anger in her heart dissipate. Seeing the scene, the red-clothed martial artist's face turned extremely ugly. He had thought that with Duan Yin around, his opponent would not be able to harm him. He had thought that he would be able to take his revenge today. He had thought that his opponent would not dare to kill a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. He had thought that many things would happen, but unfortunately, none of them had happened as he had expected. Are you in despair? You brought this upon yourself. If you had obediently chosen to leave, you would not have died. Ling Xiao's voice was filled with a sinister chill. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Xiao's sword had already reached the red-clothed martial artist's throat. Drops of blood were even seeping out from the tip of the sword. As long as Ling Xiao wanted to, he could easily push the purple flash sword forward and kill the red-clothed martial artist on the spot. Feeling the fear of death, the red-clothed martial artist finally knelt on the ground. No, you can't kill me. You should know the rules here. Although disciples of the two academies can fight, they are not allowed to kill. Perhaps he didn't even know what he was saying because his voice had changed completely due to fear. You also know that the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda has rules. Ling Xiao's voice caused the red-clothed martial artist to sink into despair. One of the rules here states that you cannot disturb a martial artist cultivating in a single room. But what did you do? No. It wasn't me. It was the blood skeleton. I didn't do anything. The red-clothed martial artist began to shift the blame on the brink of death. Who called for the blood skeleton? Ling Xiao's voice became even colder. That's right, I called for them. But even if they disturbed your cultivation, aren't you still fine? Once you kill someone here, you'll be in big trouble. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to come here again. The red-clothed martial artist swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Fine. My senior sister has been harassed and tortured by you for more than a month. You're telling me that she's fine? Ling Xiao's sword had already pierced an inch into the red-clothed martial artist's neck. Blood dripped from the red-clothed martial artist's neck faster and faster. Killing you is just taking the life of a scum. That's the real deal. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and said slowly, a single strand of my senior sister's hair is worth more than 100 lives of scum like you. Ling Xiao, don't be rash. If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? Why don't we reconcile? Killing him won't do you any good. Mo Wushang frowned and shouted, You'd better take care of yourself first. Do the two of you intend to cripple your own cultivation or die by my sword? Ling Xiao said coldly, This isn't the Heavenly Dragon Continent, nor is it the Sacred Dynasty. You dared to kill a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. This is a serious matter. When the time comes, it will be too late for regrets. Qin Bishua said, Is that so? Unfortunately, I, Ling Xiao, will never regret my actions, regardless of the outcome. Even if I die because of it, what's done is done. What's there to regret? Ling Xiao glanced at Qin Bishua indifferently. He used to be such a domineering and fierce swordsman, but now he was reduced to a dog of someone else. It really made one sigh with emotion. Are you really not afraid of the blood skull? Mo Wushang asked loudly. Blood skull? Ling Xiao had never heard of this person before. It seemed like the red-clothed martial artist had mentioned this person before. He looked at Feng Yanran, hoping to get an answer. The Blood Skull is one of the top 20 martial artists in the elite class of the Phoenix Academy. He's really strong, Feng Yanran reminded. In fact, she didn't want Ling Xiao to provoke the Blood Skull. However, she understood Ling Xiao's temper. At this time, it was useless for anyone to persuade him. She could only objectively state the pros and cons and let Ling Xiao think about it himself. Chapter 913. Ha ha ha. Did you hear that? You can't afford to offend the Blood Skull. I'm not afraid to tell you that my sister is the Blood Skull's woman. If you kill me, they won't let you off. At that time, you'll be buried with me. The martial artist in red suddenly burst into laughter. Think carefully. Is it worth it to accompany a scum like me? Can he be stronger than Empyrean Demon Flame? Is he more powerful than the Lightning Devil King? It seems like you still don't understand the situation until your death. Ling Xiao shook his head slightly and threw out the purple flash sword in his hand. The long sword pierced the martial artist in Red's throat and returned to Ling Xiao's hand. He was the target of the Flame Deity and the Lightning Devil King. If he was afraid of a mere blood skull, then he wouldn't be Ling Xiao. Everyone's gaze froze when they saw this. It was as if time had stopped at that moment. Even Feng Yanran hadn't expected that Ling Xiao would actually dare to kill the martial artist in red, especially after knowing the relationship between the martial artist in red and the blood skull. He still did it without any hesitation. Wasn't this guy too daring? As for the martial artist in red, the shocked expression on his face before his death fully reflected his feelings at that moment. He was extremely regretful. He regretted coming back to pick a fight. If he had left just like that, he would have only been slightly injured. With the strength of a heaven of two forms cultivator, he could have easily recovered. However, it was precisely because he felt uncomfortable in his heart. Because of a small matter of face, he insisted on coming back to seek revenge. In the end, not only did he fail to regain his face, but he also caused the death of Duan Yun and himself. The word stupid couldn't even describe his actions. He's still so arrogant. He's still so domineering. Doesn't Ling Xiao know what fear is? Qin Bixue and Emma Wushang looked at Ling Xiao with trembling hands. They had thought of joining forces with Duan Yun to kill Ling Xiao. But looking at it now, how laughable was that? The two of them looked at each other and patted their chests. Their heavenly veins were completely devoid of life. Ling Xiao, we've already crippled our own cultivation. We just want to live in this world. Two young geniuses, heroes and heroines, now had to cripple their own martial arts. To them, this decision was very cruel. However, he was already lucky to be able to keep his life. Still not enough. Ling Xiao suddenly pointed two fingers in the air. You, how dare you destroy our heavenly veins? Crippling the heavens' veins meant that not only would he lose all of his martial arts, he would also be unable to cultivate in the future. He could only live as an ordinary person. What's wrong? Do you want to find trouble with me after cultivating again? I'm already being merciful by not killing you. That's because I've already killed 2 people today. I'm sick of it. Get lost. The reason why Ling Xiao didn't kill Emma Wushang and Qin Bixue wasn't because he was tired of them, but because they were still useful to him. In any case, they were already 2 ordinary people and could no longer pose any threat to him. There was no harm in leaving them alive. Emma Wushang and Qin Bixue were filled with grief and indignation, but it was pointless. They knew very well that their martial arts careers had been completely cut off. From now on, their names would no longer exist in the martial arts world. Wait, before the 2 of them could walk down the 3rd step, they suddenly heard that urgent voice. What else do you want? Qin Bixue asked. Don't worry, I just want to ask you a question. Is it true that the secret scroll that Trash pasted on the dragon-snapping rock belongs to the Blood Skull? That's right. We don't have such a precious secret scroll. Emma Wushang nodded. He didn't quite understand why Ling Xiao was asking this. It seems that there's going to be another name on my death list. The Blood Skull? I'll turn him into a real Blood Skull. Ling Xiao wouldn't kill anyone for no reason. But he also wouldn't let go of an enemy who dared to kill him and his friends. Qin Bixue really wanted to prove that Ling Xiao wasn't a match for the Blood Skull. However, after opening his mouth, he suddenly closed it again. He had said this many times during the martial arts ceremony of the Sacred Dynasty. But every time, Ling Xiao would use his actions to ruthlessly slap him in the face. This made him very depressed. So today, he suddenly didn't dare to do it anymore, because it seemed that nothing was impossible for Ling Xiao. As long as this person was alive, miracles would happen. Emma Wushang and Qin Bixue left. Ling Xiao also left with Lan Yu, Hai Miankeo and Feng Yanran. Dai Yuling and the others on the first floor had finished their cultivation a few days ago. They should be at Qingshu College now. The 2 corpses on the 3rd floor had already been collected. The martial artists of the Phoenix Academy were there, trembling with fear, waiting for the Bloodskull's arrival. This was because someone had already reported it. Bury the corpses and report to the higher-ups of the Phoenix Academy. The Bloodskull, who had just come out of seclusion, didn't appear in the Heaven Essence Pagoda. He just left a cold sentence. Then he started to recite a person's name. Ling Xiao. The imperial city was always bustling with noise and excitement. This news spread throughout the city in an instant, as if it had grown wings. The news that spread the most fiercely today was Ling Xiao of Qingshu College killed Duan Yun of the Phoenix Academy and the Bloodskull's brother-in-law in the Heaven Essence Pagoda. He also crippled Mo Wuxian and Qin Bishue's cultivation and the Heavenly Veins. This sentence was made into various versions of the story that circulated in the streets. It was even made into a joke by the storyteller. Do you still remember the young man who crippled Feng Mingbo in front of the Phoenix Academy? Of course I do. Wasn't he taken away by the vice dean of Qingshu College? Yes, that's him. He caused another incident recently. He actually killed Duan Yun of the Phoenix Academy and the Bloodskull's brother-in-law. Oh, I heard about that too. He even crippled Mo Wuxian and Qin Bishue's cultivation, right? That's right. This guy is too domineering. The Phoenix Academy looked down on him, but he repeatedly embarrassed the Phoenix Academy. I admire him. What's there to admire? He's going to be unlucky soon. Unlucky? Think about it. Ling Xiao killed the Bloodskull's brother-in-law. How can the Bloodskull not take revenge? Moreover, that guy offended the Phoenix Academy so much. How can the Phoenix Academy let him off so easily? He might be cocky now, but he'll be finished soon. That's right. He won't be able to jump around for long. That's true. The Bloodskull is one of the top 20 disciples of the Phoenix Academy. Maybe the Phoenix Academy will take this opportunity to teach the Qingshu College a lesson. In the tavern, in the tea house, on the street, this matter was even being discussed in many people's homes. Ling Xiao and the Bloodskull had become the most famous people in the entire imperial city. At this moment, a group of people was rushing toward the entrance of the Qingshu College. The one in the lead had blood-red skin and a ferocious expression. Quick, report to the elite disciples. The Bloodskull is here. The disciple guarding the entrance recognized the Bloodskull and was extremely nervous. Chapter 9:14. I'll memorize it in 1 second. I'll read it at any time. The group of people soon arrived outside Qingshu College. Bloody Skull took a deep breath and suddenly shouted, "Ling Xiao, get out here!" His voice was like a clap of thunder, spreading throughout Qingshu College. His voice was so loud. He came here in such a flashy way. It was almost impossible not to draw attention to himself. The first to arrive at the gate were the teachers of the college security office. They were in charge of Qingshu College's security. They were not responsible for teaching, but their combat missions were very difficult. Moreover, the teachers of the security office were very strong. The next to arrive was Ling Xiao's group. They were here to make trouble for Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao naturally would not be a coward. Moreover, Bloody Skull was someone he wanted to deal with. "Hello, teacher." Ling Xiao came to the gate. He first saluted the teachers of the security office, then looked at Bloody Skull. "I'm Ling Xiao. Are you Bloody Skull?" Looking at Bloody Skull's blood-red skin, Ling Xiao thought it was more or less the same, but he still wanted to confirm. He would not let go of an enemy. He did not want to wrongly accuse an innocent person. Bloody Skull did not pay attention to Ling Xiao. Instead, he saluted the teachers of Qingshu College's security office and said, "Teachers, don't worry. I came to Qingshu College today to kill Ling Xiao. I'm not here to make trouble." His words were firm and confident. It was as if Ling Xiao would be at his mercy if he stood in front of him. It was as if he wanted Ling Xiao dead. Ling Xiao had to die. No one could stop him. Ling Xiao was even more unable to refuse. It was as if he wanted to trample an ant to death. The ant's resistance could be completely ignored. The security teacher looked at Bloody Skull coldly and shook his head. That's impossible. He's a student of Qingshu College. You can't kill him just because you want to. Teachers, I have a personal grudge with him, and it has nothing to do with the academy. Therefore, I am here today as a representative of myself, not as a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. The Blood Skull could ignore Ling Xiao, but he could not ignore Qingshu College. He had to make things clear. He continued, I'm sure all of you have heard that he killed my good friend, Duan Yun, and my brother-in-law in the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda. If this matter implicates the conflict between the academies, it will definitely blow up. Of course we know about this. However, Duan Yun and your brother-in-law brought this upon themselves. Although we, the disciples of Qingshu College, don't like to bully others, we don't like to be bullied either. The teachers at the security office appeared to be very domineering. Of course, this was also based on their strength. If they weren't strong enough, they wouldn't be so unyielding today. In the mystic world, reasoning was useless. Strength was the key. Therefore, the Phoenix Academy doesn't intend to pursue this matter. The Blood Skull said indifferently, Then why are you here? I'm here to look for Ling Xiao, not for revenge. I'm here because he humiliated me in front of so many people and embarrassed me. The Blood Skull said calmly, perhaps he didn't have to die after killing those 2 pieces of trash. However, since he dared to humiliate me in front of so many people, he deserved to die. Many people couldn't help but tremble when they heard this. It was said that the stronger a cultivator was, the more domineering they were. Today, they saw that this was indeed the case. They had originally thought that the Blood Skull had come to look for trouble with Ling Xiao because he wanted to avenge Duan Yun and his brother-in-law. However, they now understood that it was only because Ling Xiao didn't give him any face and embarrassed him. When Ling Xiao heard the Blood Skull's name and heard Feng Yanran's introduction, he actually killed the Blood Skull's brother-in-law and even crippled Mo Wushang and Qin Bixue. This was the reason why the Blood Skull wanted to kill Ling Xiao. It seemed absurd, but it was also very reasonable. This was because, for an expert with status and strength, face was more important than life. Perhaps in the Blood Skull's opinion, even if Ling Xiao had 10 lives, it couldn't compare to his face. Humph. In short, Ling Xiao is a member of Qingshu College. If you want to kill him, you'll have to go through us first. The Blood Skull was domineering, but the teachers of Qingshu College were even more domineering. If you want face, don't we want face too? If we let you kill Ling Xiao in front of all of us, where will we put our old faces? How many people will laugh at Qingshu College? You're right, teachers. But isn't it shameful that Qingshu College accepted such a coward as a disciple? The Blood Skull sneered. What's more, unless he hides in Qingshu College for the rest of his life, I can kill him at any time. You'll lose even more face. Although this was unpleasant to hear, it was the truth. He could hide for a while, but he couldn't hide forever. If Ling Xiao continued to hide in Qingshu College, he wouldn't be able to cultivate in the Heaven Essence Pagoda. It would be very difficult for him to improve his cultivation. Under such circumstances, how could he surpass the Blood Skull? Seeing that the several teachers of the Qingshu Academy security office were silent, Bloody Skull turned his head to look at Ling Xiao and said, You were so awe-inspiring when you were killing people. So insufferably arrogant. Why are you hiding in the academy like a coward now that things have come to a head? Are you still a man? Or are you just a piece of trash who bullies the weak and fears the strong? Or perhaps you've already regretted it. You didn't expect that your impulsiveness would lead to a fatal disaster for you? You talk a lot of nonsense. Ling Xiao picked his ears and laughed. Before you say that I bully the weak and fear the strong, you have to be clear about one thing. Shouldn't I, an intermediate one-line sky expert, kill an intermediate heaven of 3 talents expert and an advanced heaven of 2 elements expert? Those 2 dead pieces of trash were the ones who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Facing the blood skull, who had just broken through to the Avalon of 5 elements, Ling Xiao didn't seem to feel the slightest bit of pressure. He didn't even feel the slightest bit of fear. His performance was so relaxed and at ease. It was as if the dignified blood skull, one of the top 20 disciples of Phoenix Academy and an advanced Avalon of 5 elements expert, was not worth mentioning in front of him. Even if you're right, so what? You're still a coward. The blood skull laughed contemptuously. Ling Xiao also smiled and said, "Speaking of this cowardly tortoise, I've heard some interesting news. You, the famous blood skeleton, were once chased by someone and hid in the Divine Phoenix Academy for a whole year, not daring to come out. Is there such a thing?" "That's because the opponent was too strong." Shut up, you coward. You bully the weak and fear the strong." Without waiting for the blood skull to finish speaking, Ling Xiao shouted, "You're a dignified expert of the Avalon of 5 elements, while I'm only at one-line sky. You said that your opponent was strong. Are you saying that you're not strong in front of me?" Damn! Upon hearing this, the crowd secretly broke out in cold sweat for Ling Xiao. This fellow was too arrogant and arrogant. Not only did he want the blood skull to shut up, but he also called the blood skull a coward who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He returned all the blood skull's words back to him. Chapter 9:15. Many of the onlookers thought that Ling Xiao was too arrogant. Did he think that he could be so unscrupulous just because he had Qingshu College's protection? Even the teachers from Qingshu College's security department did not understand. Now was the time to put out the fire. If Su Xiaoshou apologized to the blood skull and put some pressure on him, he might give up on provoking them. After all, the blood skull only wanted a way out. Why did Su Xiaoshou have to provoke him? However, after thinking about it carefully, Ling Xiao's words made sense. However, logic was useless. Logic did not work in this world. Strength was the key. Ling Xiao could not hear their thoughts, but he probably would not care even if he did. He continued to stare at the blood skull and said, "I heard that you were the one who broke the rules of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda and pasted the secret technique scroll on the stone door of our cultivation room. You even threatened to kill us to vent your good-for-nothing brother-in-law's anger. You've already treated me like this, and you still want me to give you face? Mr. Bloodskull, may I ask, is your brain filled with tofu dregs or piss? I really feel sorry for the Phoenix Academy for being so stupid." Everyone nodded. Logically speaking, Su Xiaoshou was right. They also thought that the blood skull's wishful thinking was too shameless and domineering. However, on the other hand, so what if Su Xiaoshou was right? The blood skull sneered disdainfully and said, "So what if you're right? So what if you're right? If you don't give me face, you have to die." "Is that so?" Ling Xiao shook his head gently and said, "I've seen arrogant people before, but I didn't expect you to be better than them. Who gave you this arrogance? Do you really think you can defeat me? Killing you is as easy as slaughtering a dog." The blood skull said coldly. Ling Xiao sighed and said, "You're really arrogant. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. Even without Qingshu College's protection, it's impossible for you to kill me. If you don't believe me, you can try." Did you hear what he said? Blood Skull sneered as he looked at the teachers in the security office and the surrounding cultivators who were watching the show. Is Ling Xiao crazy? Without the protection of Qingshu College, what is he? That's right. Do you really think that you're invincible after killing Duan Yin? I heard that he's the chosen one of the heavenly dragon continent. Don't tell me he's confused by this false reputation and really thinks he's some big shot? Most of the onlookers did not believe Ling Xiao's words. They thought that Ling Xiao was so unscrupulous because he was under the protection of Qingshu College. However, Feng Yanran, Hai Mian Ko, and the others had different thoughts. LT, Ling Xiao's words really couldn't be judged with common sense. Otherwise, they would definitely be shocked. Ha ha ha, boy, do you dare to step out of Qingshu College? The blood skull laughed heartily. Isn't it easy to step out of Qingshu College? But why should I listen to you? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Haha, it seems that you're only good at talking. Unfortunately, talking is meaningless. The blood skull sneered. That's right. Step out if you have the guts. Yes, take 2 steps. Don't talk big, but in reality, you're just a coward. The cultivators from Phoenix Academy who came with the blood skull also shouted loudly. I've said that I can step out, but what if you can't kill me? I can't go out for nothing, right? Ling Xiao would not do anything that did not benefit him. You really think too highly of yourself. The blood skull sneered. I'm at the celestial realm of the Avalon of 5 elements. Killing you is easier than killing a chicken. If that's the case, what's wrong with giving me some benefits? Are you afraid that you can't kill me and will lose face and things? Ling Xiao questioned. Does this brat really have something to rely on? It doesn't look like he's bluffing. Does he really have a way to restrain the blood skull? Blood skull, what's wrong with giving him some benefits? You can kill him with 1 move anyway. Won't the things be yours? Yeah, don't be so stingy. Among the crowd, there were many cultivators who just wanted to watch the show. They did not support the blood skull, nor did they care about Ling Xiao's life. They just wanted to watch the show. Fine. If you dare to come out and exchange 3 moves with me today, I'll give you the Heaven Spirit Pill. But this is a spiritual medicine that only Celestial Realm cultivators can use. It's at the middle yellow grade. Heaven Spirit Pill. Seeing the smooth and warm pill in the blood skull's hand, many people's eyes widened. This was a middle yellow grade pill, a top grade Heaven Spirit Pill. Even in the Imperial City, only a few cultivators were qualified to possess such a pill. In the 2 major academies, perhaps only the disciples of the elite classes could obtain it. It was only a possibility. In order to obtain this heavenly spirit pill, the blood skull had painstakingly defeated many opponents in the Divine Phoenix Academy's ranking competition before finally obtaining it. It would be a waste for a one-line sky realm cultivator to use it. This kind of pill was only suitable for cultivators of the Avalon of 5 elements and above. Deal. Ling Xiao agreed without hesitation and stepped out of the academy's gate. Once he stepped out, it meant that the teachers in the security office had no right to interfere. LT. Once they interfered, it would become a fight between the teachers of the 2 major academies. That would involve too many people. Idiot. The teachers in the security office were hopping mad, but there was nothing they could do. Lunatic. The disciples of Qingshu College also shook their heads helplessly. Ha ha ha. If I knew that you would die by showing this pill, I wouldn't have wasted so much effort. Die. Seeing that Ling Xiao had really stepped out, the blood skull was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed maniacally, following which he threw a palm strike at Ling Xiao. Fatal skeleton palm. The palm strike seemed to have transformed into an evil skull, and the air was filled with the aura of death. Many cultivators even felt their souls trembling, as if they were about to be forcefully extracted from their bodies. That feeling was really unbearable. Ling Xiao, who bore the brunt of the attack, should have felt even more unbearable. However, under everyone's gazes, they discovered that Ling Xiao's face was still wearing that frivolous smile. He didn't feel any pressure at all. What was wrong with this guy? Boom! The blood skull's palm landed on the ground. The ground quickly corroded, and a scorched skull mark appeared. However, Ling Xiao was nowhere to be seen. One move. Although no one could see him, Ling Xiao's voice could be heard from all directions. Bastard, what's the point of hiding? Come out and fight. The blood skull roared. You don't believe me when I say that you're an idiot? I'm not stupid. How can a one-line sky realm cultivator fight Avalon of 5 elements cultivator? Do you think that I'm as stupid as you? At this stage, Ling Xiao was indeed not a match for the blood skull. Even if he used all his strength, he still wouldn't be able to defeat the blood skull. However, he had too many life-saving methods. Chapter 9:16. The shadow armor was one of Ling Xiao's life-saving trump cards. The blood skull couldn't even find him. How could it attack him? Damn it! The blood skull seemed to have been enraged. Suddenly, an even more powerful blood aura was released from its body. Blood devils of all directions. As it released its heavenly yuan energy, countless skulls rushed out in all directions. In the next moment, Ling Xiao felt threatened. Although his shadow armor allowed him to conceal himself, AoE attacks could still hit him. However, the shadow armor wasn't his only trump card. Black and white wings. After removing the shadow armor, Ling Xiao suddenly soared into the sky. His speed was like a ray of light. As a result, the blood skull's attack missed once again. This is the second attack. You only have 3 attacks left. Think carefully about what you're going to do. Ling Xiao chuckled as he hovered in the air, looking down at the blood skeleton on the ground. I'm not as strong as you, but I can fly. What can you do? Damn it! Watch out for my death coil! The blood skull roared and punched out with both of its fists. A huge skull with a trail of terrifying green flames pounced on Ling Xiao. No matter where Ling Xiao flew, the skull followed. It was like a ghost that wouldn't leave. Ha 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 ha. Let's see how you're going to dodge. I don't believe that you won't run out of heavenly yuan energy. Red sun all. At this critical moment, Ling Xiao suddenly stopped. A dazzling golden light shot out. Only those with sharp eyes would be able to see that it was an all-like object that directly broke through the death coil that had been used for half a day. The death coil was originally afraid of blazing heat and sunlight. Moreover, it had already consumed half a day's worth of heavenly yuan energy. With just one collision, it was burned to ashes. 3 attacks have passed. Mr. Confident Blood Skull, isn't it time for your high-grade heavenly spirit pill to be mine? Ling Xiao didn't land immediately. After all, the blood skull was too shameless. Who knew if it would suddenly launch a sneak attack? He had seen the blood skull's performance during the 3 exchanges, so he definitely wouldn't underestimate it. I'll give it to you if you come down. The blood skull trembled with rage. Today he came to look for face, but he didn't expect to lose even more face in the end. Blood skull, are you trying to go back on your word? If that's the case, I don't know if the Phoenix Academy will have the face to show off in front of Qingshu College. At this time, the teachers in the security office woke up from their shock. Ling Xiao's performance was far beyond their expectations. Although it seemed unlikely that he would be able to defeat the blood skull, the fact that he hadn't been killed by the blood skull within 3 moves was enough to make him famous. Therefore, they decided to further help Ling Xiao. Such a student must be well protected. Here. The blood skull's reputation was important, but he knew that the Phoenix Academy's reputation was even more important. If he made the Phoenix Academy lose face, then he could forget about staying in the Phoenix Academy in the future. Thanks a lot. Ling Xiao reached out and caught the heavenly spirit pill. However, he furrowed his brows. I didn't expect the people of the Phoenix Academy to be so insidious. Do you think that by injecting poison into the heavenly spirit pill you can trick me? Ling Xiao said disdainfully, Unfortunately, in my opinion, your tricks are no different from the pranks of a 3-year-old child. Hearing this, the onlookers frowned. The blood skull couldn't kill him, so he resorted to such a despicable method. The blood skull was too cheap. You're slandering me. The blood skull was so angry that his face turned green as he shouted. You don't dare to admit what you did. Fine. I'll slap your face again and show you what I've done." After saying this, Ling Xiao placed the heavenly spirit pill in the air. Then he activated his heaven's origin energy and extracted the poison from the pill in front of everyone. "This is shadowless poison," someone exclaimed in surprise. "That's right, it's the Phoenix Academy's shadowless poison. Once it comes into contact with the skin, even a celestial realm martial artist will die. This kind of poison is very rare. Even the Phoenix Academy only has a limited amount of it. They don't even know how to refine it." It was obvious that this person was an expert in poisons. It seems that Ling Xiao was right. Isn't the blood skull a little too shameless? They're not just shameless. They're a disgrace to the Phoenix Academy. I think the Phoenix Academy is behind this. Otherwise, how could the blood skull obtain such a poison? That's right. Now that you mention it, it does make some sense. The onlookers were discussing this matter. The blood skull's expression became more and more unsightly, because everything had been predicted correctly. That poison was indeed given to him by the vice dean of the Phoenix Academy, Sikongzun, who asked him to kill Ling Xiao. Originally, he didn't want to use this poison. He thought that it would be easy for him to kill Ling Xiao with his own strength. However, after 3 moves, he couldn't even touch Ling Xiao. Therefore, he decided to use such a powerful poison. However, he didn't expect that the poison that Sikongzun had bragged about and that no one could detect and extract was actually extracted by Ling Xiao so easily. Not only did he embarrass himself, but he also brought shame to the Phoenix Academy. "Ling Xiao, don't try to change the topic. I underestimated you because I didn't kill you today. Do you dare to fight me in the Imperial City's arena 1 month from now?" Under such circumstances, the blood skull had nothing else to say. He could only forcefully change the topic and attract everyone's attention. "A battle of life and death?" Ling Xiao asked calmly. "That's right, a battle of life and death. Do you dare?" The blood skull asked. "Humph, you won't use such despicable means to harm me, will you?" Ling Xiao said sarcastically, "Don't worry. I'll fight you fair and square. Let's fight to the death." The blood skull replied. Ling Xiao was silent for a while. Then he nodded and said, "Fine. Since you wanted to kill me with poison today, I'll kill you anyway. Since you've made this request, I'll agree to it. Let's fight to the death in the Imperial City's arena 1 month from now." 1 month was enough for him to raise his cultivation to yin and yang heaven. Of course, during this period, he had to refine more heavenly spirit pills. In the past, he didn't have the formula for the heavenly spirit pill, but now he had it. With the powerful analytical ability of his mountain river martial soul, he could figure out the formula for refining the heavenly spirit pill from the upper class heavenly spirit pill in his hand and finally succeed. At that time, he could auction off some of the defective pills in exchange for more medicinal materials and use the good ones for himself. With the help of the heavenly spirit pill and the heaven essence pagoda, if he couldn't break through to yin and yang heaven in 1 month, he deserved to be killed by the blood skull. However, no one knew what he was thinking, even though he said it out loud. Almost everyone present thought that he was crazy. The arena was different from this place. There was a space restriction. No matter how good one's body movement was, they couldn't fully perform within a certain range. Chapter 9:17. Furthermore, if the blood skull was given a month, he would definitely be able to think of a way to deal with this technique. However, how much could Ling Xiao's cultivation improve in a month? At most, he would reach the advanced stage of one-line sky. Ordinary people would think so. They did not understand Ling Xiao, nor did they understand how terrifying Ling Xiao's alchemy skills were. Although he managed to escape from the blood skull today, it was only 3 moves. He couldn't see how terrifying the blood skull was. That's right. Ling Xiao is too arrogant. He doesn't know how powerful the blood skull is when he unleashes his full strength. The blood skull's character is not good, but his strength is definitely superior to Ling Xiao's. His cultivation has just broken through and is not stable enough, so his performance is not good. After a month, he will be able to fully utilize the Avalon of 5 elements cultivation. By then, Ling Xiao will really be dead. Only his courage is worthy of admiration for daring to accept the Blood Skull's deathmatch challenge. At first, the teachers in the security office thought that Ling Xiao had escaped death and were rejoicing. However, when they heard that Ling Xiao had actually accepted the deathmatch challenge, they almost jumped up and scolded him on the spot. Do you have any sense of propriety? How daring are you exactly? How dare you agree to such a thing? Fortunately, they were all teachers and managed to restrain themselves. The Blood Skull's originally ashen face was replaced by a cold smile. If Qingshu College pursued the matter today, he might be severely punished. Furthermore, he might not have the chance to find trouble with Ling Xiao in the future. He did not expect that Ling Xiao would actually accept his deathmatch challenge. During this period of time, Qingshu College would not be able to find trouble with him. As long as he killed Ling Xiao in a month, Phoenix Academy would still put him in an important position. Qingshu College would have no reason to find trouble with him. After all, Ling Xiao was already dead. Why not take action now? That was because he didn't have the confidence to kill Ling Xiao. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was not strong, and his strength was not as strong as his movement technique was too strange. He had to use a month's time to cultivate a secret technique to counter Ling Xiao's movement technique. In addition, he also had to adapt to his current cultivation. Therefore, a month later would be the best time. Like the onlookers, he didn't think that Ling Xiao could improve his cultivation by much in a short month. Ling Xiao, 1 month from now, you'd better not choose to run away. Otherwise, your master and your institute will feel shame because of you. The Blood Skull said coldly. As long as you don't run. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Let's go. The Blood Skull knew that he couldn't out-talk Ling Xiao, so he decided not to waste his breath. He called out to his men, turned around and left. No matter how embarrassing it was today, he tolerated it. Everything he did was for the sake of humiliating Ling Xiao in a month's time. He wanted to turn Ling Xiao's cynical smile into a miserable dog's face. Only then would he be able to regain his face and establish his prestige once more. The onlookers also left, talking and laughing. 1 month later, there would be an even bigger show to watch. Ling Xiao had already given them too many surprises today. Since he was so confident, what kind of shocking strength would he show in a month's time? The Blood Skull had been humiliated today. 1 month later, what kind of terrifying method would he use to make Ling Xiao suffer a fate worse than death? They didn't support either side. They just thought it was fun. Ling Xiao, do you know what you just did? After the onlookers left, the teachers in the security office looked at Ling Xiao with disappointment and asked, "You're courting death." "Teachers, don't worry. I won't embarrass the institute in a month's time." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "This child, the Blood Skull, is at the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. He has just broken through. 1 month later, he will definitely be able to adapt to his new level of cultivation. With his aptitude, even a practitioner at the peak of the Avalon of 5 elements would find it difficult to defeat him. But what about you? You're only at the middle stage of One Line Sky now. How are you going to defeat him in a month's time?" Ling Xiao's expression suddenly became serious. He said seriously, "Although the wolves living in the Gobi Desert are thin and weak, they are very fierce. A wolf raised in captivity will eventually become a dog. I don't like a life that's too easy. Only in times of crisis can I explode with greater potential." All along, Ling Xiao had grown up under enormous pressure. He believed that these dangers and crises would give him the desire to urgently increase his strength. If there was no crisis, then he would create one. A life that was too easy would cause his sword to rust and make him forget about killing. Hearing this, The teachers in the security office were speechless. After a long while, they only threw out 2 words: lunatic. Feng Yanran finally understood why Ling Xiao was so strong. It wasn't just because of his talent or potential. It was also because of his terrifying, wolf-like nature. He was fearless in the face of danger and even faced it head-on. Very few people could truly achieve this. Most people would gradually lose their sharp claws and fangs due to the ease of life and become an obedient dog. That would be the end of them. The incident in front of Qingshu College's gate quickly spread throughout the imperial city. Because of the Blood Skull's existence, this battle had attracted the attention of countless people. Many people began to investigate Ling Xiao's background, hoping to find out who the power behind Ling Xiao was. Otherwise, how could he have the guts to provoke the Phoenix Academy again and again? The results of the investigation greatly surprised them. Ling Xiao's rise was like a rapidly rising supernova. In just over a year, he had grown from a little beggar who was bullied by everyone to the heavenly dragon continent's chosen one. After coming to the divine Phoenix continent, he was personally invited by Feng Qingyan to join Qingshu College. This information was easy to find out. However, information about Ling Xiao's true background and the power behind Ling Xiao seemed to not exist in this world. There was no clue at all. Did someone tamper with it? Or was there no one behind Ling Xiao at all? In the end, this was still a mystery. Some people continued to investigate, while others just gave up. In any case, Ling Xiao was going to die at the hands of the Blood Skull in a month. What was the point of investigating a dead person's background? Of course, Ling Xiao didn't know about these things. In such a short time, he had advanced to the middle stage of the one-line sky realm mainly because of his previous accumulation. He had reached this stage before. Now he was just recovering. However, it was not easy to advance from the middle stage of the one-line sky realm. Not only did he need a good place like the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda, but he also needed a large number of spirit pills. The low-grade Heavenly Spirit Pill was the most useful to him at present. Therefore, Ling Xiao planned to refine the low-grade Heavenly Spirit Pill himself. Chapter 918. However, in order to refine pills, one would need medicinal ingredients. Large amounts of precious herbs were required. It was impossible to spend time collecting these herbs, so he could only buy them with spirit stones. When Ling Xiao left the Sky Dragon continent, he left a large amount of spirit stones to Wu Xiang, Ling Luo, and the Moon Lady. Although he had a lot of spirit stones now, he was not rich compared to before. The herbs required to make the Heavenly Spirit Pill were extremely expensive. With the low-grade spirit stones he had, he estimated that he would only be able to make 100 low-grade Heavenly Spirit Pills. He was also reluctant to use middle-grade and high-grade spirit stones. Middle-grade spirit stones were most suitable for Grotto Heaven Realm cultivators. High-grade spirit stones were even more precious, so it was definitely a good idea to keep them. Moreover, he had a way to get herbs and low-grade spirit stones. It was not like he was at the end of the road. If he refined 100 low-grade Heavenly Spirit Pills, he would auction them off. This way, he could earn 10 times the amount of low-grade spirit stones and refine 1,000 low-grade Heavenly Spirit Pills. With so many, it would be enough for him to reach the peak of heaven and earth. As long as he could reach the peak of heaven and earth in a month, he was absolutely confident that he could defeat the Blood Skull. Low-grade Heavenly Spirit Pills could be refined by any yellow-grade alchemist. However, in the entire divine Phoenix continent, there were only a dozen yellow-grade alchemists. The strongest was Sun Shang from the Phoenix Academy. What's more, refining the same medicinal pill, even if the formula was the same, there would be a huge difference in the things refined. Moreover, Ling Xiao used his Mountain River Martial Soul's ability to analyze and practice thousands of times to improve the Heavenly Spirit Pill. He created an evolved version of the Heavenly Spirit Pill. Although it was of the same grade as the low-grade Heavenly Spirit pill, its effect was twice as strong. What was even more amazing was that any celestial realm cultivator could use it. Unlike the low-grade Heavenly Spirit pill, which could only be used by one-line sky, heaven, and earth realm cultivators, the range was too narrow. He was confident that no one could replicate the process and method of refining the Heavenly Spirit pill. Although his hell dragon fire was sealed, that was only because it could not be used to attack or cultivate. If it was used to refine pills, it could still be used. During the process of refining the pills, Ling Xiao used the hell's dragon fire, the dark flames of death, and the true samadhi fire. Just this point alone was something that no one could imitate. Not to mention, if he added a little more or a little less of those materials, it would affect the success or failure of the pill refining. Even that wondrous hand Empyrean Sun Shang would probably have to spend a lifetime just to figure out this pill formula. As for creating a replica, that was out of the question. Therefore, Ling Xiao's Heavenly Spirit Elixir, at least an entire Divine Phoenix continent and the Heavenly Dragon continent, absolutely did not exist. If this kind of divine medicine were to be auctioned off, would he still have to worry about it? Of course not. After making up his mind, Ling Xiao went to a medicine shop in the Imperial City and spent all his low-grade spirit stones to buy a large number of medicinal herbs. This Imperial City was worthy of being called the Imperial City. The variety of medicinal herbs shocked Ling Xiao. As long as you had enough spirit stones, there was no need to worry about not being able to buy them. After getting the medicinal herbs, he did not return to Qingshu College. Instead, he found a hidden inn in the Imperial City and began to refine the low-grade Heavenly Spirit Elixir. When refining pills, the Hellfire Furnace could naturally be used. The Human King's seal was very humane. It only limited Ling Xiao's use of these things in battle or cultivation. But if it was refining pills, refining formations, or refining tools, there were no restrictions. After refining the low-grade Heavenly Spirit Elixir, there were a total of 100 pills. Ling Xiao examined them carefully. Although it was his first time refining, it was still perfect. The grade of this elixir should only be of the middle grade of the yellow grade. But martial artists of the heaven tier could use it. It was just that the higher the level, the worse the effect. But no matter what, it was effective. It was not like the low-grade Heavenly Spirit Elixir, which had no effect above the cultivation of the 4 divisions. Putting all these perfect, low-grade, Heavenly Spirit Elixir into a gourd, he then put the gourd into his storage ring. Walking out of the inn, he went straight to the Imperial City's largest auction house, the Heavenly Dragon Auction House. Hearing this name, one knew that it had something to do with the Heavenly Dragon continent. Ling Xiao was somewhat puzzled. To be able to bring business to the Divine Phoenix continent, and to such a large scale, the owner of this auction house was quite capable. But the more capable one was, the better. In this way, the 100 low-grade Heavenly Spirit Elixir in his hands could be auctioned off at a higher price. What he lacked now were spirit stones. As long as he had spirit stones, he could buy large amounts of medicinal herbs and refine large amounts of pills. He would not be any worse than the disciples of those noble families. Rumor had it that the Heavenly Dragon Auction House had supporters among the Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial family, and there were even people who invested in it. So even though this auction house was lucrative and made many envious, there was basically no one who dared to make a move on this auction house. There was once an example, and that person was a famous bandit in the Divine Phoenix continent. However, on the second day, many people saw the bandit's corpse being hung above the city gate tower. That was a Grotto Heaven Realm bandit, and he died just like that. The things he stole were all recovered. From then on, no one dared to make a move on this auction house again. After leaving the inn, Ling Xiao turned into an alley. After confirming that no one was following him, he put on the ghost mask from before and changed his figure. With his current appearance, unless it was someone close to him, no one would be able to recognize who he was. After disguising himself, Ling Xiao walked towards the Heavenly Dragon Auction House. He naturally had his reasons for being so careful. He was merely a 15-year-old youth. If news of him being able to refine heavenly spirit elixir were to spread, it would definitely attract the attention of various forces. Who knows, he might be caught and forced to do manual labor one day when he went out. After all, his current cultivation was still not enough, so being careful was always right. The ghost mask was a good cover for him. Even if others were to target him, he was not afraid. After all, he would not normally appear in this appearance. It's that person. Outside the auction house, several guards recognized Ling Zhao's ghost mask. Back then, the person who had identified Sikong Zun's true identity in front of the Phoenix Academy was the person wearing the ghost mask. It might not be him. This kind of ghost mask has been very popular on the market recently. Many people have collected it. Yes, although the Emperor did not punish that member of the Sea clan, that ghost masked man has become a hero in the hearts of many warriors in the Imperial City. He dared to expose the true identity of the Sea clan in front of so many people and escaped unscathed in the end. Of course, he is a hero. The guards discussed as they watched Ling Zhao walk into the auction house. The auction house was open for business, so under normal circumstances, they would not stop strangers from entering, unless they were obviously looking for trouble. After entering the auction house, Ling Zhao could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Chapter 919. Why do the furnishings here look so familiar? Could she be the owner of this auction house? It was not the first time Ling Zhao had auctioned something, but he had only been to one auction house, which was the Royal Auction House in the Sacred City. The decoration style of this Tianlong auction house was exactly the same as that of the Royal Auction House. Even the employees inside were wearing the same clothes. He became more and more suspicious that the owner of this auction house was Princess Yunya, who had a hot body and a seductive personality. If it's her, then it's good. If it's not, then it's okay. I'm just here to auction something. Thinking of this, Ling Zhao walked into the appraisal pavilion of the auction house. This was usually the place where people from outside came to send things to be auctioned. Ling Zhao naturally had to come in. In the attic, a few people were busy putting labels on the auction items. One of the people in charge saw Ling Zhao come in and couldn't help but be stunned. Then he asked respectfully, "Are you here to appraise and send something to be auctioned?" Yes. At this time, Ling Zhao's voice was thicker than usual. It sounded like a middle-aged man. After speaking, Ling Zhao didn't dawdle. He directly took out the gourd from the storage ring and poured out a low-grade heaven spirit magic pill. The person took the pill and sniffed it. He couldn't help but be surprised. This is a heaven spirit magic pill. No, it doesn't seem right. This smell, this quality, it should be better than the heaven spirit magic pill. But the specific quality can only be known after the appraisal by a professional. Ling Zhao smiled. The person in front of him was very good. At least his professionalism was first class. He could judge the quality of this thing just by smelling it and looking at it. Then let's appraise it. But be quick. I don't have much time. Ling Zhao said. Are you an intermediate yellow-grade alchemist? The person couldn't help but ask. Is this very important? Ling Zhao asked. If it's inconvenient, you don't have to answer. I just don't know the name of this pill. And what effect does it have? That person asked again. It's called the Heavenly Spirit Dan. It's a Dan between the middle and high yellow grade. It has the same effect as the Heavenly Spirit Dan, but its effect is 1 or 2 times better. This is a low-grade Heavenly Spirit Dan, but as long as it's a warrior of the Sky Realm, it can be used. Ling Zhao explained. As expected, hearing Ling Zhao's words, that person could be considered to have confirmed his own judgment. He couldn't help but nod inwardly. It really was a good thing. It was actually a medicinal pill that was even better than the low-grade Heavenly Spirit pill. Moreover, it could be used by Heaven Realm experts. One had to know that even low-grade Heavenly Spirit pills were rare in the Imperial City. They were expensive, and even if you had the money, you might not be able to buy them. As far as he knew, as long as it was a heavenly spirit pill, no matter if it was low grade, middle grade, high grade, or top grade, as long as it appeared on the market, it would be swept clean. It would be impossible to buy it, even if it was slightly late. Master Alchemist, please tell me, what are the side effects of this heavenly god's pill? The people at the auction house were quite attentive. Usually, they wouldn't pay much attention to this kind of problem. After all, they were selling it to others and not for their own use. Do you think a perfect level medicinal pill will have side effects? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Perfect level. Hearing this, the person's face changed. He carefully put the medicinal pill back into the gourd and then returned it to Ling Xiao. He said, Master Alchemist, please wait here for a moment. I will go and invite our boss. After speaking, the person also ordered his men to make tea for Ling Xiao before leaving. Ling Xiao didn't stand on ceremony. He sat on the seat and then carefully tasted the cup of tea. The mouth part of the ghost mask was not blocked, so there was no problem whether it was eating or drinking tea. A moment later, the shop assistant, who had left, returned. Behind her was a graceful beauty. Who else could it be but Princess Yunya? I didn't expect the owner of the Heavenly Dragon Auction House to be Princess Yunya. After the disaster in the Sacred City, you suddenly disappeared. Many people thought that you were killed. Ling Xiao opened his mouth and said with a smile, Mr. Ghost Mask is indeed someone from the Heavenly Dragon Continent. It is my honor to know me, Yunya. Yunya smiled and said, But I don't know who you are. Ling Xiao knew Yunya, but Yunya didn't know the Ghost Mask man, so it was inevitable that she was curious. I am just a wild crane. My name is not worth mentioning. Let's talk about business. Ling Xiao naturally didn't want to expose his identity so quickly. The key was that he still couldn't trust Yunya. This woman was more powerful than he had imagined. She could escape under such circumstances. If she didn't have some tricks, it was absolutely impossible. Sir, didn't you say that you don't trust Yunya? It doesn't matter. Time will reveal a person's heart. Yunya didn't continue to ask. Instead, she took the gourd from Ling Xiao's hand and poured out a pill into her hand. As she activated her heaven's origin energy, the pill actually started to spin in her hand. Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He didn't expect Princess Yunya's martial soul to be able to analyze the medicinal pill's data. As the medicinal pill kept spinning in her hand, different patterns appeared behind Yunya. Those patterns were none other than the medicinal ingredients used in the medicinal pill. There were even some more detailed data. Of course, these data were not very comprehensive. It lacked the necessary refining process. After a while, Yunya stopped the appraisal. She looked at Ling Xiao with great surprise and respect. Sir, are you Ling Xiao's master? The reason why she asked such a question was that Ling Xiao had taken out a perfect level medicinal pill when they were in the Sacred City. You can't say that. I've just met him a few times, and I admire that kid. Ling Xiao said casually, Princess Yunya, what's the result of your appraisal? The perfect level medicinal pill is between the middle of the yellow grade and the high grade. Its effect is twice as good as the low grade heavenly spirit pill. It is suitable for all warriors in the celestial realm. Yunya said seriously, Senior is really amazing. Yunya admires you. Let's cut the pleasantries. There are a total of 100 heavenly spirit pills here. I hope to auction all of them. I wonder if your highness can help? Ling Xiao asked. Just call me Yunya. Now that the sacred dynasty is basically dead, there is no princess. We can't ask for these medicinal pills. Of course, we are willing to auction them. I believe that the reputation of the Heavenly Dragon Auction House will be better than before. Yunya said with a smile. That's good. When can we auction them? Ling Xiao asked. Now, we are in the middle of an auction and have reached the final stage. Your 100 heavenly spirit pills are definitely qualified to be the finale. Yunya replied. Okay, Then I'll have to trouble you. Ling Xiao cupped his hands and said, Chapter 920. Senior, you can wait in the VIP room. There are still a few things that haven't been auctioned yet. If you like, you can play with them. After Yin, you finished speaking, she winked at the person next to her. Lord Alchemist, please follow me. That person immediately led Ling Xiao to the VIP room in the auction hall. Sister, are you going to host the auction yourself? After Ling Xiao left, Yunya also entered the dressing table to dress up. During this time, the maid who helped to pack up her clothes asked, Of course, that devil-masked man's origin is definitely not ordinary. To be able to refine such a perfect level medicinal pill, his alchemy level is probably even better than Sun Shang's. This kind of person naturally has to be fawned over. Yunya said with a smile, You don't even know who he is. How can you fawn over him? The maid asked, It's fine if you don't know. Isn't he going to auction these medicinal pills? Isn't it fine as long as they are sold at a high price? The reason why Yunya personally went was that she wanted to auction these 100 medicinal pills properly. She was really a little worried about other auctioneers. When Ling Xiao arrived at the auction room, the auction was still going on. However, when he sat down, the auction was suddenly interrupted. The original auctioneer withdrew from the auction, and the person who reappeared on the auction stage in the center was actually Princess Yunya. At this time, Yunya was dressed in a sexy manner. You could see everything that others should see. The places that you shouldn't see were always looming, and you couldn't see them even if you wanted to. Her voice was still so seductive and numbing, making men's bones go soft. Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the saying that she was devastatingly beautiful was true. With this woman's beauty, she would probably charm countless men. No wonder the Heavenly Dragon auction house had just collapsed in the Holy City, but it actually rose again in the Divine Phoenix Empire. Even the royal family of the Divine Phoenix Empire couldn't resist the beauty of this Princess Yunya. Moving his gaze away from Yunya, Ling Xiao carefully observed the items that were currently being auctioned. He couldn't help but curl his lips and sigh in his heart. Sure enough, with a beautiful boss, the attractiveness of this auction house is not ordinary. Those that had already been auctioned, those that were in the hands of the guests, those that were being auctioned, and most of the things that had yet to be auctioned could only be described as trash. Even if those things were given to Ling Xiao for free, he wouldn't want them. However, those people treated them as treasures. First, it was because of the influence of the beautiful Yunya, to make some men who thought with their lower bodies. Secondly, quite a few of them were alchemical pills. Although they were rotten, the Divine Phoenix continent lacked them. To the Heavenly Dragons, the Divine Phoenix, SSR. Therefore, when a mere revered heavenly hand Sunshang came here, he immediately became an esteemed guest of the Divine Phoenix Academy. Moreover, he was hailed as the top alchemist in the entire Divine Phoenix continent. He couldn't help but sigh. His gaze moved away from those trash and suddenly discovered that there were actually quite a few reputable people sitting in the auction hall's VIP rooms. Among them were the Phoenix Academy's vice principal, Fengming Wanchong Sunshang, the flame deity, Fengming Yu, Fengming Juanzhong, and Fengming Bo, as well as Feng Qingyan and Feng Yanran, who had helped Ling Xiao before. It was truly worthy of being the Imperial City's #1 auction house. These reputable people had actually all come, but looking at them, it seemed that they weren't bidding for anything. Could it be that there would be something good at the end of this auction? If that was the case, then there was a need to bid for it. You personally came to the auction hall to host the auction, which caused a burst of excitement in the auction hall. Many of them even began to howl like wild cats that had been startled. One had to admit that Yunya's seductive voice, coupled with her choice of words, could always make the people below the stage go crazy. The prices of the items that were being auctioned after that had obviously risen. According to Ling Zhao's estimation, the price of each item was estimated to be at least 50% higher than when the previous host hosted the auction. Sigh, I really have to admire her. Ling Zhao secretly shook his head. He remembered that when he was in the Holy City, Yunya had also auctioned off his elixir at a sky-high price. It seemed that there was absolutely no need to worry about spirit stones today. With Yunya around, he could sit on the fishing platform and collect money steadily. After a few pieces of trash were auctioned off, there were only 2 items left that were covered by the red cloth on the exhibition table. Ling Zhao knew that one of them was his inferior grade, Heavenly Spirit elixir. The other item was unclear, but it was definitely something that both the Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College wanted to compete for. Everyone, these last 2 items are the finale items of this auction. Everyone, please look carefully. I believe that you will definitely be interested. Yunya uncovered one of the red cloth. Under the red cloth was a red gourd. Needless to say, it was the inferior grade Heavenly Spirit elixir that Ling Zhao had given to Yunya before. Yunya poured out an elixir from the gourd, and then said in an extremely charming and enchanting voice, "This is a spiritual elixir that is between the intermediate and advanced yellow grade." Just hearing this sentence, the entire hall suddenly fell silent. Even those men who were originally staring at Yunya's body also fixed their eyes on the spiritual elixir. A low-grade yellow-grade elixir was already considered a treasure in the divine Phoenix continent, not to mention a mid-grade yellow-grade elixir. The elixir in Yunya's hand was actually better than a mid-grade yellow-grade elixir. It was close to an advanced yellow-grade elixir. How could they not be tempted? Seeing these people's reactions, Yunya was very satisfied. She said with a smile, "This is an inferior grade Heavenly Spirit elixir. Its effect is twice as good as the inferior grade Heavenly Spirit elixir. It can be used by Celestial Realm cultivators without any restrictions. The effect of the Heavenly Spirit elixir is to help Celestial Realm cultivators increase their cultivation speed and condense Celestial Realm essence energy faster. The effect of this elixir is even better." Her red lips parted slightly, and she continued in an extremely charming voice. Celestial Realm cultivators are the main body of cultivators in the divine Phoenix continent. There are probably many people who want to break through the Celestial Realm and advance to the Grotto Heaven realm as soon as possible. I don't need to say more about the value of this elixir, right? The better the effect, the greater the side effects. Boss Yunya, please explain how terrifying the side effects are. Heavenly Sovereign Miraculous Hand, Sun Shang was indeed an expert. He quickly got to the point. Since Master Sun is an alchemist, then you must have heard of perfect grade elixirs, right? Yunya smiled enchantingly. What? Sun Shang had been studying alchemy all his life, but he had never completed a perfect grade elixir. He had once bought a few perfect grade elixirs at a high price in the Holy City in an attempt to study them. Unfortunately, a war broke out later, and those elixirs were also destroyed in the war. He didn't expect to meet it again today. Chapter 9:21. Can you let this old man take a look? Sun Shang asked anxiously. Of course, Master Sun is the #1 alchemist in the divine Phoenix continent. Yun naturally believes in your judgment. Yunya smiled. This was a free advertisement opportunity. Sun Shang rushed forward and grabbed the pill. After carefully inspecting it for a moment, he nodded and said, "That's right, it's a perfect grade pill. Could it be that you met that mysterious alchemist again?" Yunya nodded and said, "That alchemist is in the Imperial City, but it's not convenient for him to show his face." Understood. Sun Shang took a deep breath and returned to his seat. He was already prepared to bid for these pills at a high price. Of course, he could say that this wasn't a perfect grade pill, but if he did, he wouldn't be able to bid. Once he bid, as long as one wasn't an idiot, they would be able to tell that he was talking nonsense. Moreover, he was also worried that the mysterious alchemist would be watching. If the other party came out and slapped his face, he who had just become the dean of the Divine Phoenix Medical College would lose face. Everyone heard it, right? Revered deity, Miracle Hand Sunshang, has already made a judgment on this pill. I have a total of 100 of these pills in my hands. Amen. It should be said that there are only 100 of them. If the auction is over, you won't have the chance to get them. Yun Yi took the opportunity to say. No one doubted Sun Shang's words, because everyone present knew how amazing revered deity Miracle Hand Sun Shang was in terms of alchemy. Since he said that the thing was real, then it couldn't be wrong. Ling Xiao took a deep breath. During the last auction, he had benefited from Sun Shang and used this guy once. He didn't expect that he would have to use Sun Shang again today. It made him not want to deal with this old guy. He was bored to death as he observed the expressions of the guests, waiting for them to bid. Suddenly, he found that Feng Yanran suddenly stood up and then anxiously said something to Feng Qingyan, who was beside her. He didn't dare to release his soul force to eavesdrop, but he could guess the meaning by looking at her lips. After all, the mountain river martial spirit's analytical ability was much stronger than before. Uncle Qingyan, I'm afraid that I don't have enough spirit stones. Later, you have to lend me some. I want to bid for all of these things. Feng Yanran said seriously. This low-grade heavenly spirit Dan is indeed a good thing. If you want to bid for it, I will fully support you. This will be very helpful to your cultivation. Feng Qingyan nodded and said, It's not for me, it's for Ling Xiao. Feng Yanran shook her head. For Ling Xiao? Don't tell me you've fallen in love with that kid? Feng Qingyan asked doubtfully. Don't talk nonsense, Uncle Qingyan. Ling Xiao is going to fight the Blood Skull in a month. Do you want to see him die? These low-grade, heavenly spirit divine pills are too important to him. Feng Yanran said hurriedly. You still haven't answered my question. Feng Qingyan shook his head. I can't explain it to you clearly. You can directly ask my big brother Hidden Mountain about Ling Xiao. He knows better than me. Feng Yanran was anxious. At this moment, Yunya announced the start of the auction. These 100 low-grade, heavenly spirit divine pills won't be auctioned separately. That would be too troublesome. The starting price for 100 pills is 1 million low-grade spiritual stones. Now, please bid. Each bid must not be lower than 100,000 low-grade spiritual stones. After Yunya finished speaking, she looked at the VIP seats. Feng Qingyan, Feng Ming Wanchong, and the others sitting there were the real big customers. 1,100,000. As soon as Yunya finished speaking, someone shouted a bid. It could be seen that this low-grade, heavenly spirit divine pill was really popular. Many people were willing to bid a high price for it. 1,200,000. 1,500,000. Perhaps it was too troublesome to add 100,000 low-grade spiritual stones, so someone directly added 300,000. The bidding price in the hall continued to rise. In just a short time, the price had reached 5 million low-grade spiritual stones. Uncle Qingyan, have you thought it through? I only have 5 million low-grade spiritual stones. I can't take out more. I beg you, there are some things I can't say, but this Ling Xiao must be helped. Our Ice Phoenix clan owes him. Feng Yanran said anxiously. Okay, I'll help you get it. As for whether you want to give it to Ling Xiao, I'll have to ask the Ice Phoenix Crown Prince first. Feng Qingyan couldn't resist Feng Yanran's coaxing and pestering and finally decided to bid. However, he was not in a hurry to bid. If he wanted to bid, he had to do it directly. He didn't want to do things that were too troublesome. At this time, the people bidding were the small fries in the ordinary seats. They didn't pose a threat to him at all. What he had to be wary of was the price offered by the Phoenix Academy. That was the most important thing. The competition continued to ferment, and the voices gradually died down. When the price reached 5 million low-grade spirit stones, many people had already reached their limit. Not everyone was as rich as an alchemist. Most martial artists earned their spiritual stones through hard work after many missions. It was really rare to be able to save up 5 million. 6 million. Just when Feng Qingyan thought that the time had come, a voice rang out. He turned his head and saw that the person who shouted the price was Sun Shang. This shout made many people swallow back the price that was at the tip of their tongues, because very few people dared to offend the Phoenix Academy. Moreover, this person was the dean of the Divine Phoenix Medical School. If they competed with this kind of person, not only would they not be able to win, they might even offend him. It was better to do him a favor. Sun Shang, you're the #1 alchemist in the Divine Phoenix continent. Why do you need to buy these low-grade spiritual pills? Feng Qingyan asked in confusion. He was really confused. After all, alchemy wasn't his forte. It's a perfect grade pill. It's necessary to bring it back for research. Sun Shang casually explained. I say, old Phoenix Qingyan, if you don't have the money, then stop being so long-winded. What does it have to do with you whether others buy it or not? Feng Ming Wanchong didn't seem to have a good relationship with Feng Qingyan. As long as they met, they would fight. This time, he didn't let go of the chance to ridicule Feng Qingyan. Today, I want these high-grade spiritual pills. 7 million low-grade spiritual stones. Feng Qingyan also didn't want to raise the price so much at once. However, as the vice dean of Qingshu College, he definitely couldn't raise the price less than Sun Shang. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to showing weakness. This wasn't a personal gain or loss, but a fight for face between the colleges. 8 million. This time, the one who shouted the price wasn't Sun Shang, but Feng Ming Wanchong. This guy really grabbed the opportunity to fight. 9 million. In a short period of time, Feng Qingyan and Feng Ming Wanchong actually raised the price of this gourd of low-grade spiritual pills to the level of 13 million. It was like fighting spirit. It wasn't for the pills at all. 20 million low-grade spiritual stones. The two of you better stop fighting. This thing belongs to me. This voice came from outside the door. It was an unfamiliar voice. Chapter 922. The person who suddenly appeared at the auction was a stranger. No one had seen him before, but no matter if it was his cultivation or his aura, they were a little fearful. He suddenly raised the price from 13 million to 20 million. This time, Feng Qingyan and Feng Ming Wanchong hesitated. It wasn't that they didn't have more low-grade spirit stones, but it wasn't worth it to raise the price any further. Everything had its own value. If it exceeded this value, even if one obtained it, it would be useless. I give up. Feng Qingyan sighed and gave up first. Yanran, it's not that I don't want to help you, but if we continue to fight, I won't have enough money. He only had a total of 20 million low-grade spirit stones. Judging from the stranger's intentions, if they continued to fight, he would definitely raise the price. There was really no need for that. Feng Qingyan gave up, and Feng Ming Wanchong also lost interest in fighting. I give up too. As for Sun Shang, his eyes flashed with killing intent. After a long time, he shook his head gently and said, I give up too. He still had low-grade spirit stones, but he didn't want to spend them. As long as the stranger didn't leave the imperial city, he had a way to snatch the item from him. This gentleman has bid 20 million low-grade spirit stones. Is there anyone else who wants to continue? Yunya looked at the guests and asked with a smile. After a while, no one answered. Yunya felt that it was about time. According to her estimation, although these heavenly spirit divine pills were good, they were worth at most 10 million low-grade spirit stones. If someone bought them for 20 million, it would be a big profit. She believed that the devil-masked man would be very satisfied. All right, since no one wants to continue to raise the price, These 100 heavenly spirit divine pills will belong to the distinguished guest. I'll have to trouble you to come to the VIP room to trade later. Yunya smiled. She had finalized the deal. No need. These are spirit stones. You can count them and give them to me. The man seemed to be in a hurry to leave and threw a storage ring to Yunya. Yunya checked the low-grade spirit stones in the storage ring and transferred them to her own storage ring. Then, she gave the gourd of pills to the man. The deal is done. Goodbye. The stranger turned and left without hesitation. Follow him. Don't alert him. Sun Shang muttered to the flame deity beside him. Understood. The flame deity turned around and left. Seeing this scene, Ling Xiao couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. The flame deity was going to kick an iron plate this time. That person's cultivation seemed to only be at the 7 stars heaven realm. But through the analysis of the mountain and river martial spirit, Ling Xiao felt that it was fake. That person's actual cultivation was most likely at the grotto heaven realm, or perhaps even higher. If Sun Shang were to personally chase after them, then it would be fine. However, if he let the flame deity follow them, then he would just be looking for trouble. But who was this person? Why did it feel so familiar? Ling Xiao shook his head. In the end, he still couldn't guess who this person was. Everyone, please don't be in a hurry to leave. There is still something more outstanding than the heavenly god's elixir to be auctioned here. Those who didn't get anything good should pay attention. After Yunya completed Ling Xiao's auction, she was not in a hurry to leave. Anyway, there was only one last auction item left, and it was something she cared about very much. It was bound to be auctioned at a higher price. After speaking, she untied the last piece of red cloth. Underneath, it was a treasured sword. On the treasured sword, the scabbard made of cold iron was still emitting traces of heat. This is a long sword at the celestial grade precious weapon level. It is about 1 meter long and has the yang attribute. It is very rare. The reason why the scabbard is made of cold iron is because it is too hot and the temperature can't be controlled. As long as it is placed on the table, it will completely burn through the table. As she spoke, Yunya pulled the treasured sword out of the scabbard. At that moment, the auction hall, which was originally cool and breezy, seemed to be scorched by the sun. Many people were sweating profusely. Quickly close the sword. Boss Yunya, I can't stand it. It's too hot. Yes, it's too hot. Yunya smiled slightly and put the long sword back into the scabbard. She also couldn't stand holding this treasured sword for a long time. She felt as if the water in her body was being sucked out. It was really uncomfortable. This is definitely not a simple celestial grade precious weapon. Ling Xiao had a feeling that this sword was more powerful than any of his celestial grade precious weapons. But strangely, it didn't give off the feeling of a divine grade precious weapon. What is this? Is it really an ordinary sword? No, even if I don't refine the heavenly god's elixir, I must get this thing. Ling Xiao had always believed in his intuition. He thought that this sword could help him, so he would definitely try his best to get it. However, it wouldn't be easy to get this sword. There were so many people in the auction hall today, especially those from the Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College. He was afraid that they were here for this treasured sword. Its name is the Golden Crow Sword. The inscription carved on the sword hilt is similar to the Golden Crow, a divine bird from ancient times. Legend has it that the Golden Crow is a sunbird. It's very compatible with this sword. Yunya continued to introduce. Before the auction, I need to remind everyone that this sword will choose its owner. Ordinary people can't control it. She was actually using a very ordinary method to provoke people. However, the simpler the plan, the easier it was to succeed. Especially in a situation where so many people were present today, people who cared about their reputation would go all out for this Golden Crow Sword. Oh, right, there's one more thing that I almost forgot. This Golden Crow sword has been appraised by a weapon master. It's a very rare weapon in the mystic world that can automatically evolve. Automatically evolve? Yes, but it's very difficult for this golden crow sword to evolve because it needs to devour the 12 sacred flames to evolve into the most complete golden crow divine sword. Of course, it can also evolve by devouring ordinary flames that aren't as good as the 12 sacred flames. However, if it can evolve into the golden crow divine sword, the effect will naturally be worse. Yunya smiled and said, I originally planned to keep this thing, but unfortunately I don't have much confidence in collecting the 12 sacred flames. I can only take it out for auction. I wonder if anyone has the ability to do so? Boss Yunya, there's no need to say more. What's the starting price? Below the stage, there were already people who were eager to give it a try. A treasured sword that could evolve meant that as long as they got it, they could always use it. They would really regret it if they missed out on such an item. As for whether they could get the 12 sacred flames, these people didn't even think about it. It was fine as long as special flames could help it evolve. Compared to the 12 sacred flames, there were a lot more special flames in the mystic world. Yunya smiled and said, the starting price of the Golden Crow Sword is also 1 million low-grade spirit stones. This starting price was the same as the previous Heavenly Spirit Divine Pill. However, the starting price was only the starting price. If one wanted to see the price of an item, they would have to see the final transaction price. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.